Chapter 2025. Is there a teleportation array here that can lead to the common people's god realm or the demon realm? Yang Hanwu looked at Gong Sun Yan and asked. I don't know, maybe. Gong Sun Yan said, but even if there is, you have to enter the Myriad Immortal Sect. Only the sect master of the Myriad Immortal Sect can open it. Since the great change in the god realm not long ago, the connection between the 13 god realms has been cut off. Once it's cut off, cultivators won't be able to easily go from one divine domain to another. Yang Hanwu frowned slightly. If it wasn't for the huge consumption of his teleportation power, he could have directly broken through the void and entered the other divine domains. However, he couldn't do it now. There were no divine domains in the current divine domain. There seemed to be a strong barrier, and this barrier made it difficult for people to pass through. Even he couldn't do it. If he was at his peak, he might be able to try it, but now, he couldn't do it at all. Yang Hanwu was worried about the safety of the girls. Yang Hanwu didn't think that Zetian would forget his hatred for him after reaching the Tao Lord realm. He thought that Zetian would definitely be angrier at him and want to defeat him more. Only then could he solve his inner demon. He defeated him time and time again, which would leave a thorn in Zetian's heart. If he couldn't defeat or even kill him, it would be difficult for Zetian's cultivation to reach the peak. After all, he had defeated Zetian time and time again, and even killed him once. If it was anyone else, they would have a grudge against him. Therefore, Zetian would definitely make a move on Hu Shou'er and the others. Now, Yang Hanwu only hoped that Zetian hadn't found them yet, or even if he found them, he would wait for him. Besides the Myriad Immortal Sect, is there no other teleportation array? Yang Hanwu asked. No, and the teleportation array of the Myriad Immortal Sect can only go to the common people's god realm. It's absolutely impossible to go to the demon realm. Now, the demon realm, and the Azura Ghost realm are all controlled by the master of the demon realm. These three god realms have been isolated. Gong Sun Yan said, in order to enter these three divine realms, the rulers of the other 10 divine realms must join forces. At least 7 of them will be able to open the passage. At the very least, the rulers of the 7 divine domains have to work together to open it. Yang Hanwu didn't believe it. Are you lying to me? Young master, why would I lie to you? Gong Sun Yan smiled bitterly. I'm just an emperor. If you want to kill me, you can do it with a wave of your hand. If there's a single lie in what I say, I'll die a horrible death. Seeing that Yang Hanwu didn't believe him, Gong Sun Yan had no choice but to swear. He was afraid that Yang Hanwu would get angry and beat him to death. Don't be nervous, I won't do anything to you. Yang Hanwu couldn't help but smile after seeing her nervous appearance. Gong Sun Yan did not dare to believe it. After all, the person who casually killed all the disciples of the Myriad Immortals sect was a tyrant. If they angered him, it would be normal for them to be beaten to death. For some powerful tyrants, it was very normal for them to be killed. For tyrants, killing weaklings was like eating and drinking. It wasn't a big deal at all. Take me to Myriad Immortal Sect. Yang Hanwu said. Go. Myriad Immortal Sect? Young master, you're not joking, right? Hearing Yang Hanwu's words, Gong Sun Yan was stunned. Going to Myriad Immortal Sect? Wasn't that the same as sending himself to his doorstep? It was the same as sending himself to death. For Gong Sun Yan, it wasn't easy for him to escape. Now that he had to go back, he wasn't willing to. Furthermore, Sun Tongho, Sun Yuanxiong, and the others were killed because they were chasing after him. If the people of the Myriad Immortals sect were to find out about this, not to mention Gong Sun Yan, even the entire Gong Sun clan would be in danger of being wiped out. Therefore, even if he had to die, he wasn't willing to go back. Therefore, he shook his head and said, Young master, just kill me. I won't go back to Myriad Immortal Sect. Going to Myriad Immortal Sect is the same as sending myself to death. Moreover, it will implicate my clan. Hearing this, Yang Hanwu said coldly, Aren't you afraid that I will harm your clan? Young master, hearing Yang Hanwu's words, Gong Sun Yan was frightened. I have no enmity with young master. Young master, you can't do this. Yang Hanwu snorted and said, I will definitely go to myriad immoral sect. If I don't achieve my goal, not to mention exterminating your clan, even if I have to destroy the entire divine realm, I won't hesitate. Yang Hanwu was telling the truth. For Yang Hanwu, his woman was the most important. She was already the person he cared about the most in this world. Except for his woman, he didn't care about anything else. In order to save his woman, not to mention exterminating a clan, even if he had to destroy the entire divine realm, so what? Seeing the terrifying killing intent in Yang Hongwu's eyes, Gong Sun Yan was frightened. This was a madman. If he dared to refuse again, the man in front of him would really do it. Young master, I promise you. Taking a deep breath, Gong Sun Yan said to Yang Hongwu, however, young master, I will only take you to myriad immoral sect. After reaching there, I will leave. It's fine. Just take me to myriad immoral sect. You don't have to care about anything else. You're too weak to do anything. Yan Hanwu said. He naturally knew what Gong Sun Yan was thinking. It could be said that Gong Sun Yan didn't have any good impression of him at this moment. He even hated him. However, Yang Hanwu didn't care at all. He didn't care whether Gong Sun Yan would plot against him. Because Yang Hanwu had the strength. Even if he was plotted against, he could directly suppress him. Gong Sun Yan still didn't know Yang Hongwu's background. Moreover, he didn't know the level of Yang Hongwu's strength. Moreover, since he wasn't afraid of myriad immoral sect, it could be seen that his background and strength were extremely terrifying. Extremely terrifying. This man was bent on going to Demon Realm. Could it be that this man in front of him was from Demon Realm? Or could it be that this man in front of him was a spy of Demon Realm, or even a vanguard of Demon Realm who wanted to open the gate between Demon Realm and the 10 divine realms? If that was the case, was it right or wrong for him to take him to myriad immoral sect? Chapter 2026. Under Gong Sun Yan's lead, Yang Hanwu made his way forward. Along the way, Yang Hanwu learned a little about the current situation in the deity domain. He had to admit that there were many experts in the deity domain. However, in fact, these experts had originally existed. The so-called Great Change in the deity domain was because the seal between the deity domain and the outside world had been broken. The real deity domain had fused completely with the real deity domain, allowing the so-called deity domain to connect to the real deity domain. The spiritual energy in the deity domain had become abundant. In fact, the original deity domain was just an outer domain. It was only a small part of the real deity domain. The current deity domain was the real deity domain. However, the rulers of the 10 great deity domains were all in danger now. This was because Zetian controlled the other 3 deity domains. They were the demon domain, and the Azura ghost domain. Moreover, Zetian wasn't satisfied after controlling the 3 deity domains. He still wanted to expand. This worried everyone. Therefore, apart from the 3 deity domains, the rulers of the other deity domains had already joined forces to resist the demon domain. The current Zetian was extremely powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that Zetian was still cultivating, he would have continued to attack the 10 great deity domains. The ice domain was the first to bear the brunt of his attack. Previously, Yang Hanwu had been in the ice domain. However, he was now in the eternal deity domain. Soon, Yang Hanwu and Gong Sun Yan arrived 1,000 miles away from the myriad immortal mountain. Although they were 1,000 miles away from the myriad immortal mountain, it was too conspicuous. Yang Hanwu had already seen it. The spiritual energy in the entire myriad immortal mountain was extremely rich. It could be said that the myriad immortal mountain was the place with the richest spiritual energy in the entire eternal deity domain. It was also the core of the entire eternal deity domain. The myriad immortal mountain was an immortal mountain formed at the core of the eternal deity domain. Cultivating there would definitely be rapid progress. This was also the reason why the myriad immortal sect had become the cultivation holy land of the entire eternal deity domain. Moreover, it was also the key to the myriad immoral sect's prosperity. Even if the myriad immoral sect didn't have a Tao Lord expert, it wouldn't weaken. After all, the myriad immoral mountain's capital was there. Someone had taken away the core of the Aeon God realm. That was why the myriad immoral mountain had been crippled. However, this was basically impossible. How terrifying was the strength needed to cripple the Aeon God realm? Ordinary Tao monarchs couldn't do it, unless they had transcended the Tao. Peak Tao Lord expert. If a peak Tao Lord expert. That's the myriad immoral mountain. The myriad immoral sect is on top of the myriad immoral mountain. Ordinary people can't enter the myriad immoral sect. There's a huge space in the myriad immoral mountain. Is U.S. to leads. Said Yen, said Wei. Alright, you can go now. Yang Hanwu had already achieved his goal. Now that he had arrived at the myriad immoral mountain, everything else was simple. This Gongsun Yen was too weak, and he was not from the myriad immoral sect. And he wasn't a disciple of the myriad immoral sect. It was because of this that Yang Hanwu asked him to leave. Master, I'll take you in. You can't enter the myriad immoral sect alone. Although I'm not a disciple of the myriad immoral sect, I have a way to enter. Gongsun Yen shook his head. He shook his head. He was worried that Yang Hanwu was just testing him. Although he really wanted to leave Yang Hanwu's side, he still held back. Therefore, he spoke up. Yang Hanwu could guess what Gongsun Yen was thinking. You have a way to take me into the myriad immoral sect? Yang Hanwu was slightly surprised. Didn't you say that you're not a disciple of the myriad immoral sect? Although I'm not a disciple of the myriad immoral sect, my mother used to be a disciple of the myriad immoral sect. I have a myriad immoral token. This token can make me a myriad immortal. I'm a disciple of the sect. Previously, the reason why I was being hunted down was because of this 10,000 immoral badge, Gongsun Yen said. When Yang Hanwu heard this, he didn't quite believe it. What he said was true and false, but he couldn't be trusted 100%. However, Yang Hanwu didn't care. If that's the case, lead the way. Gongsun Yen nodded. In fact, Gongsun Yen didn't tell the whole truth. His mother was indeed a disciple of the myriad immoral sect. However, this myriad immoral token didn't belong to him. It wasn't his mother's, but his mother had stolen it. He wanted to leave directly. However, after thinking about it, he realized that there was a huge secret hidden in this myriad immoral token. He couldn't find it by himself. Because even if he entered the myriad immoral sect, he didn't have enough strength. On the other hand, Yang Hanwu had great strength. If Yang Hanwu caused chaos in the myriad immoral sect, he would have a chance to fish in troubled waters. This was an excellent opportunity for him. Because of this, Gongsun Yen took the risk to bring Yang Hanwu into the myriad immoral sect. After Gongsun Yen changed his appearance, he brought Yang Hanwu to the foot of the myriad immoral mountain. When Gongsun Yen saw a few martial artists, he hurriedly said, "Young master, let's hide first. These people are disciples of the myriad immoral sect. Since they are disciples of the myriad immoral sect, isn't it better?" Yang Hanwu smiled. He didn't intend to hide at all. Gongsun Yen was helpless. Who are you people? Those disciples were not strong, but as the patrolling disciples of the myriad immortal sect, they were not bad. With such strength, they could be considered as ordinary clans. In ordinary families, they could become deacons or even hall masters. However, these disciples were only patrolling disciples of the myriad immoral sect. This showed that the myriad immoral sect had a very strong foundation. Yes. Senior brother, that kid seems to be Gongsun Yen. One of them said. Hearing this, Gongsun Yan's face changed drastically. In the myriad immoral sect, there weren't many people who could recognize him. Moreover, there were many disciples in the myriad immoral sect. Only 1 in 10,000 could recognize him. There was one in front of him. Unlucky. Really unlucky. When the leader heard this, his eyes lit up. He shouted, "Catch that guy." When everyone heard that, they all rushed toward Yang Hanwu and Gong Sun Yan at once. Courting death. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. With a wave of his hand, a powerful aura appeared. The majestic spiritual power turned into a huge fist and instantly sent the group of people flying. Go! Damn it! How can he be so strong? The leader was injured. He got up and his face changed drastically. He was about to crush the communication jade token in his hand. Seeing this, Gong Sun Yan was anxious. He said, "Young master, we can't let him crush the communication jade token. Otherwise, we will be in trouble." He wanted to chat with more like-minded people. Article_title. Follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends. Chapter 2027. Hearing this, Yang Hanwu smiled and did not stop the other party. At this moment, the communication jade charm was crushed and a ray of spiritual light flew out. Seeing this, Gong Sun Yan was extremely anxious and thought to himself, "It's over, it's really over this time." Yang Hanwu was strong and he was not afraid. However, Gong Sun Yan was not. He was only an emperor. If he were to encounter a late emperor, he would definitely not be able to withstand it. As for half-step hegemons and half-step Tao lords, that was even less of a problem. If he were to encounter these elders, he would definitely have no chance of survival. Right now, he was filled with regret. Why was he so greedy? Why did he come to Myriad Immortal Sect with Yang Hanwu? If only he hadn't courted death by leading the way for Yang Hanwu. Ha, you guys are dead meat. I have already passed the news to the elders in the sect. When the elders arrive, you guys will definitely die. The disciple of Myriad Immortal Sect laughed out loud. When the spiritual light of the communication jade charm flew out, it was blocked by a light screen. At this moment, the voice of the disciple of Myriad Immortal Sect stopped abruptly. Seeing this, he did not dare to believe it. Impossible. Impossible. How can the communication jade charm be blocked? It must be an illusion. Yes, it must be an illusion. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. Nothing is impossible. Yang Hanwu said indifferently, "I have set up a formation around this area to isolate the space. Ordinary communication jade charms will not be able to send it out. Only special communication jade charms can do it. However, you are just an ordinary disciple of Myriad Immortal Sect. How could you have such a communication jade charm? You." The disciple of Myriad Immortal Sect was already severely injured. Now, he was angered to death. Seeing this, Yang Hanwu was speechless. Originally, he wanted to catch him and ask him some questions. But now, he was dead. His plan was foiled. On the other hand, Gong Sun Yan, who was originally terrified and despondent, was pleasantly surprised. It could be said that he had gone from hell to heaven. He had never imagined that Yang Hanwu would have the ability to block the communication jade talisman. One had to know that he had never seen anyone being able to block it. Even the Grandmaster of the Myriad Immortals Sect would not be able to do such a thing. Not even Gu Wanxian could do such a thing. Such methods were truly tyrannical beyond compare. She really didn't know what his cultivation level was. It was definitely not as simple as the realm of the Emperor that he saw before him. After all, he had seen with his own eyes that an emperor was like an ant in front of him. A slap, no, a breath was enough to kill him. But then again, it made sense. After all, Yang Hanwu was someone who dared to go against the Myriad Immortal Sect in Gu Wanxian. Who was Gu Wanxian? He was a Tao Lord. He was an existence that stood at the pinnacle of the God domain. Only Tao Lords would be able to fight against them. Could it be that this person was also a Tao Lord? But if he was a Tao Lord, would he still need him to lead the way? A Tao Lord could cover almost half of the eternal God domain with a single thought. Apart from some special secret realms, his thoughts could cover almost everything. So what? Would he need him to lead the way? Therefore, he was definitely not a Tao Lord. However, even if he wasn't a Tao Lord, there was definitely a Tao Lord behind him. Moreover, his strength was profound and unfathomable. Let's go. Yang Hanwu waved his hand and a flame appeared. That person was instantly turned into ashes. Gong Sunyan swallowed his saliva. This was truly tyrannical. He naturally didn't dare to refute Yang Hongwu's words and led the way. At this moment, he was even more careful and didn't dare to say anything. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of the Myriad Immortal Sect. Young Master, this is the Myriad Immortal Sect. To enter, you need a disciple token. I dare not. My Myriad Immortal token can open the formation. However, my strength is limited. I can only open a small door and there's a time limit. Gong Sunyan said to Yang Hanwu. He was afraid that he would be angry, so he could only explain clearly. There's no need for that. It's just a mountain protecting formation. It can't stop me. Yang Hanwu said and waved his hand. A ray of light hit the mountain protecting formation. At that moment, a ray of light appeared. Then, a light rippled above the formation, and a door appeared. This door was large enough to allow two people to pass through. This scene stunned Gong Sunyan. The mountain protecting formation of the Myriad Immortal Sect was incomparably powerful. Even a Tao Lord couldn't open it easily. However, Yang Hanwu actually did it. To be able to activate the formation so easily with a wave of his hand, such ability was simply inconceivable. Although he was extremely curious, he didn't dare to ask too much. He followed Yang Hanwu and entered the Myriad Immortal Sect. After entering the Myriad Immortal Sect, Yang Hanwu found that the spiritual chi here was denser than the outside world. The Myriad Immortal Sect was indeed a cultivation holy land. If he could take this place for himself, it would definitely be an excellent place. There was probably no such place in the sky-reaching land of the divine palace of self-defense. With such a good cultivation place, even the inner world of Tao Lord Crazy Battle was far inferior to this place. At this moment, Yang Hanwu knew that the deity realm wasn't that simple. Perhaps, the entire deity realm was an ancient top world. It wasn't like what he thought before. The deity realm was just an ordinary world. After entering the Myriad Immortal Sect, Yang Hanwu felt a familiar aura and was overjoyed. This aura was the special aura that belonged to his woman. No one else had it. Hong Qiao Qiao. Yang Hanwu didn't expect to find Hong Qiao Qiao's aura here. This simply surprised him. Moreover, Hong Qiao Qiao's aura was now very strong. She had reached the half-step sovereign realm. Although she hadn't reached the sovereign realm, she wasn't far away. Young Master, what's wrong? Seeing Yang Hanwu stunned, Gong Sunyan couldn't help but ask. Nothing. Yang Hanwu shook his head and then pointed in the direction of Hong Qiao Qiao's aura. What's that place? That's the Nine Lotus Peak. It's rumored that Gu Wanxian's last disciple is on top of the Nine Lotus Peak. Gong Sunyan said, I don't know the details. The Nine Lotus Peak? Yang Hongwu's eyes narrowed. That was good. Hong Qiao Qiao's sacred body was the Nine Lotus Ice Flame Battle Body. The Nine Lotus Peak was a good fit. This time, he could go and take a look. If Hong Qiao Qiao was really Gu Wanxian's last disciple, it would be fine. But if she was captured and wronged, he might have to deal with Gu Wanxian. Gu Wanxian would have to think about it. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book, $article_title, on WeChat. He followed excellent reading literature. Talking about life, looking for a confidant. Chapter 2028. Young Master, I suggest that we capture an ordinary true disciple of Myriad Immortal Sect first. Gong Sunyan said. Capture an ordinary true disciple? Yang Hanwu shook his head. No, let's go straight to Lotus Peak. Right now, the person that Yang Hanwu wanted to see the most was Hong Qiao Qiao. As for the others, let's put them aside first. Perhaps, Hong Qiao Qiao had information about other people. After all, Hong Qiao Qiao's position in Myriad Immortal Sect was not low. Since she could become Gu Wanxian's closed-door disciple, she must know a lot of information. This was killing many birds with one stone. Young Master, this is not right. Lotus Peak is the place where Gu Wanxian's closed-door disciple cultivates. That place is definitely filled with danger and has amazing defense. Rumor has it that Gu Wanxian cares a lot about this place. If we barge into Lotus Peak, it's definitely not a wise move. Gong Sunyan said worriedly. He wanted to dispel Yang Hongwu's idea. After all, it was too risky to go to Lotus Peak. Moreover, young master, if we barge into Lotus Peak, you will alert the enemy. This way, the entire Myriad Immortal sect's defense will be strengthened too much. At that time, it will be even more difficult to find the teleportation array. I said, go straight to Lotus Peak. If you don't want to go, I won't stop you. However, you have to remember one thing. If you ruin my plans, I won't be polite. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. In his eyes, Gong Sunyan was an ant. Killing him was not difficult at all. Yang Hongwu knew this point. How could Gong Sunyan not know this point? He was too weak. In front of Yang Hongwu, he had no power to resist. Moreover, he still needed to rely on Yang Hongwu. After all, they were in Myriad Immortal sect. If he was exposed at this time, he would definitely die. He needed to rely on Yang Hongwu's powerful strength to protect himself in Myriad Immortal sect. This was the most crucial point. Of course, he was also worried that if he did not listen to Yang Hongwu would kill him. Wu might just beat him to death. If that was the case, he would be too aggrieved. A glint of hatred flashed in his eyes. Once he found out the secret of the Myriad Immortal token, obtained the supreme secret technique, and improved his cultivation base, he would definitely teach this guy a lesson. Young master, I was just saying. Seeing Yang Hongwu like this, Gong Sunyan hurriedly explained. I'll lead the way for young master. After saying that, Gong Sunyan walked in front. However, Yang Hongwu said, this is a breath-concealing talisman and a face-changing pill. With these two things, no one in the Myriad Immortals sect can see through your disguise, unless, otherwise, as long as you don't seek death, you won't be in any danger. You can do whatever you want. However, you have to remember that when I'm looking for you, you won't be in any danger. You have to show up immediately. With that, Yang Hongwu pointed his finger in the air, and a beam of light entered Gong Sunyan's head. Young master. After Yang Hongwu pointed his finger, Gong Sunyan felt that there was something extra in his body. It was an extra imprint in his soul. Although he didn't know what to do, he wasn't very clear about it, but he knew that it was definitely not a good thing. I've left a mark in your body. I can summon you. Of course, this mark can also control your life and death. Don't worry, I have no enmity with you, so I won't do anything to you. However, as long as you don't seek death, I won't do anything to you. When I get what I want, I'll leave, and your mark will naturally be removed. After Yang Hongwu finished speaking, he soared into the air and flew towards Lotus Peak. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of Gong Sunyan. Gong Sunyan looked at the direction Yang Hongwu disappeared in helplessness. Looking at the talisman and pill in his hand, he now hoped that these pills and talismans would be useful. Otherwise, he would really be in danger. However, even if he was dissatisfied, there was nothing he could do. The reason why Yang Hongwu didn't kill Gong Sunyan was because Gong Sunyan was still a good person. Although he was a little ambitious, it was still very normal. The first reason was that Yang Hongwu wanted to see what secrets this fella had. He wanted to know what was so attractive about the Myriad Immortals sect that he had to take such a risk. Yang Hongwu's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, Yang Hongwu arrived in front of Lotus Mountain. In the Myriad Immortal sect, Lotus Mountain was a mountain with dense spiritual qi. In the entire Myriad Immortal sect, the density of spiritual qi here was definitely one of the best. However, there were countless restrictions in the vicinity, and the defensive formation was astonishing. Entering Lotus Mountain could be said to be a lot of obstacles. However, in front of Yang Hongwu, these so-called obstacles were nothing. They were originally nothing, like paper paste. He wouldn't even put them in his eyes. After all, his physique and bloodline were special. Moreover, the cultivation method he cultivated was also special. In addition, he was very talented in formations and restrictions. Therefore, in the myriad heavens and myriad worlds, therefore, in the myriad immoral world, there were too few formations and restrictions that could block him. Unless it was a very special and powerful formation or restriction, only then would it be able to suppress him. Looking at Lotus Mountain in front of him, Yang Hongwu's mood was very excited. After stepping onto Lotus Mountain, he saw a magnificent palace on top of Lotus Mountain. This palace was surrounded by ice and fire lotuses. Yang Hongwu's mouth curled up into a smile. With a thought, Yang Hongwu instantly disappeared. In the next moment, Yang Hongwu entered the palace. "Junior sister, you know what I'm thinking." When Yang Hongwu entered the palace, he heard a male voice. Yang Hongwu slightly frowned. "Guwahai, I've told you before. Don't bother me. It's absolutely impossible between you and me. I have my own Taoist companion." At this moment, a female voice sounded. It was the voice of his woman, Hong Qiao Qiao. "Junior sister, I know. Are you lying to me? If you really have a Taoist companion, why didn't he appear? Back then, if it wasn't for my uncle, I'm afraid that you would have been doomed. However, if you really have a Taoist companion and a man, that man isn't worthy of you. A man who can't even protect his own woman, what kind of man is he? Moreover, that man of yours, how can he be compared to me, Guwahai?" Guwahai was very angry. He had pursued Hong Qiao Qiao for a long time. However, Hong Qiao Qiao didn't like him and ignored him. She ignored him. He even knew that if his uncle wasn't Guwanxian, he wouldn't even be able to enter Lotus Mountain. Scram! When Hong Qiao Qiao heard Guwahai badmouthing Yang Hongwu, she was completely enraged. "You can't even compare to a strand of his hair. Get out of here. I don't want to see you again." She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. Article_title. On WeChat, she followed excellent reading literature. Talking about life, looking for a confidant. Chapter 2029. You. Guwahai was infuriated. "Hong Qiao Qiao, you bitch. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Today, I must have you." As he spoke, Guwahai pounced towards Hong Qiao Qiao. Hong Qiao Qiao's eyes flashed coldly. "Guwahai, you're courting death." Hong Qiao Qiao's strength was not weak now. She raised her right hand slightly, and an ice fire lotus appeared, releasing a terrifying pressure. Insignificant skill. Guwahai snorted lightly. With a wave of his hand, a scarlet light shield protected his body. Hong Qiao Qiao's ice fire lotus struck that scarlet light shield. It merely caused Guwahai's body to sway slightly, but it was actually unable to break through his defense. Hong Qiao Qiao's expression changed, and she retreated half a step. "Guwahai, if you don't leave now, I'll call you master," Hong Qiao Qiao berated angrily. "It's useless." Guwahai laughed wildly. "My uncle has already gone to another divine domain. Even if you send a message, he won't be able to rush over in a short period of time. When the rice is cooked, how could my uncle blame me? Moreover, you also know that my uncle actually thinks very highly of us. As long as you become my woman, my uncle will be happy to come. What if he can't? You." Hong Qiao Qiao was infuriated. She never imagined that Guwahai would be so crazy. "You're forcing me." "That's right. I'm forcing you. I want you to become my woman. Where's that so-called Tao companion of yours right now? Didn't you say that I can't even compare to a single strand of his hair? Let's see if he can save you now." Guwahai was incomparably savage. "Is that so?" At this time, Yang Hongwu truly could not continue watching. This person deserved to die. Yang Hongwu shattered the defensive formation with a punch, and walked in. "Who?" Guwahai was furious. "Who dares to disturb me?" When Guwahai entered the Lotus Flower Peak, he had already sealed off the Lotus Flower Peak's formation. The Lotus Flower Peak's formation was set up by his uncle. Only Hong Xiao and his uncle were present. His uncle could control it, and his uncle had a core supreme treasure, which was the core of the entire myriad immortal sex array formation. He had used his uncle to leave the eternal God realm to obtain it. Only by taking away this supreme treasure could he control the formation of Lotus Flower Peak, preventing Hong Xiao from controlling it and leaving Lotus Flower Peak. This way, his plan would be foolproof. When his uncle came back, even if he was angry, there was nothing he could do. After all, what was done was done. However, he never expected that someone would barge in and ruin his plans. It was impossible for an outsider to break the formation and enter this place. Thus, there was only one possibility. The other party had already entered this place and was hiding here. Hong Xiao, you actually brought outsiders into the Myriad Immortals sect? The instant he saw Yan Hongwu, Gu Huahai's anger soared to the heavens. It was a man, a strange man. Moreover, he didn't have the Myriad Immortals sect's disciple badge on him. Clearly, he wasn't a disciple of the Myriad Immortals sect. In his hand, he had a supreme treasure of the Myriad Immortals sect. Not only was it a treasure that could control the entire Myriad Immortals sect's array formation, it could also identify the disciples of the Myriad Immortals sect. Because, every single disciple of the Myriad Immortals sect would leave their aura on this supreme treasure. Thus, using this supreme treasure, he could identify every single disciple of the Myriad Immortals sect. At present, this brat didn't leave any information on this supreme treasure. Thus, this brat wasn't a disciple of the Myriad Immortals sect. Furthermore, no one in the Myriad Immortals sect was allowed to privately bring outsiders into the Myriad Immortals sect, especially a core location like Lotus Flower Peak. Moreover, this was a man. Moreover, this man was hidden in Lotus Flower Peak. This meant that Hong Xiao and this man most likely had a deep relationship. It was even possible that this man was Hong Xiao's man. He had pursued Hong Xiao for so long, but Hong Xiao had always been disdainful towards him. This made him extremely angry. Seeing Yang Hongwu's appearance, he naturally felt jealous. Husband. When Hong Xiao saw Yang Hongwu, she was wild with joy. She didn't care that Gu Huahai was still beside her. She flew up and directly threw herself into Yang Hongwu's embrace. It's really you. I'm not dreaming, right? At this moment, when Hong Xiao saw Yang Hongwu, she simply didn't dare to believe it. She even thought that she was still in a dream. It's me. You're not dreaming. I'm sorry, I'm late. Yang Hongwu tightly hugged Hong Xiao. Hearing Hong Xiao's words, Yang Hongwu's heart ached. You're not late. You're not late at all. It's just that I missed you so much. Hong Xiao murmured, I was afraid that if I let go, you'd disappear again. I was afraid that this was still a dream. No, it's not a dream. I'm really here, said Yang Hongwu. In the future, we'll never be separated again. Bastard. Seeing Yang Hongwu and Hong Xiao act so lovey-dovey, Gu Huahai truly couldn't take it anymore. The flames of fury in his heart had already reached the limit. The flames of jealousy burned fiercely. He went berserk. You adulterous pair. I'm going to kill you. As he spoke, a hooked spear appeared in Gu Huahai's hand. It flickered with cold light. Gu Huahai waved the hooked spear in his hand. A terrifying ray of cold light shot straight towards Yang Hongwu. Husband, be careful. Hong Xiao's expression changed. She discovered that Yang Hongwu's strength was still at the Emperor realm, while Gu Huahai was already at the ruler realm. How could Yang Hongwu be his match? Thus, Hong Xiao didn't think too much and directly blocked Yang Hongwu behind her. At this moment, Yang Hongwu smiled gently. He was incomparably calm. Don't worry, I'll deal with it. Just watch. After Yang Hongwu finished speaking, he waved his hand. A ray of light shot out from his fingertip. It was a ray of sword energy. This ray of sword energy instantly shattered the ray of cold light. The powerful force forced Gu Huahai back several steps. The hooked spear in his hand almost slipped out of his hand. Although Yang Hongwu didn't primarily cultivate the sword, his comprehension of the Tao of the sword, or in other words, his comprehension of the laws of the sword was absolutely not lacking. However, Yang Hongwu's cultivation in the Tao of the sword was far inferior to his comprehension of fist and blade techniques. Even his comprehension of spear techniques was lacking by quite a bit. Even so, Yang Hongwu's comprehension of the Tao of the sword was extremely terrifying. It was far from what a playboy like Gu Huahai could compare to. Husband. Seeing Yang Hongwu display his invincible might, Hong Qiao was pleasantly surprised. Her original worry turned into worship and pride. She didn't expect Yang Hongwu to still be so powerful. Although he was only at the Emperor realm, he could actually easily defeat the ruler realm Gu Huahai. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about the article _title on WeChat. She followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2030. Damn it. Not only did he fail to take down Yang Hongwu with one strike, but he was also at a disadvantage in this confrontation. Gu Huahai was shocked. He didn't expect this pretty boy to be so powerful. He was so powerful. He looked young and his cultivation wasn't strong. He was only at the Imperial Emperor realm. Yet, he was able to block his attack. This gigolo was definitely not that simple. Husband, be careful. At this moment, Gu Huahai launched another attack at Yang Hongwu. This time, Gu Huahai took out a supreme treasure. Seeing the supreme treasure, Hong Qiao's expression changed drastically. As Gu Wanxian's last disciple, how could she not know about the existence of this supreme treasure? This supreme treasure was not only the core control of the entire myriad immortal sex formation, but also a powerful treasure that combined both attack and defense. This supreme treasure was called the Myriad Immortal Seal. In fact, this Myriad Immortal Seal was not only the core that controlled the Myriad Immortal Sex formation, but also the symbol of the Myriad Immortal Sex sect master. Therefore, this Myriad Immortal Seal was in the hands of her master, Gu Wanxian. And the person who held this Myriad Immortal Seal could execute the sect master's orders. Seeing the seal was like seeing the sect master, Gu Wanxian. Humph, pretty boy, die for me. The jade seal in Gu Huahai's hand glowed with light. Next, the formation of the entire Lotus Mountain began to change. It changed from a formation that focused on defense to a terrifying one. It was now in an offensive state. Hong Qiao was so worried because she knew how terrifying the Lotus Flower Peaks formation was. It's fine. It's just a small trick. Madam, please stand aside and watch me kill this guy. Yang Hongwu didn't care at all. He waved his hand slightly, indicating that Hong Qiao didn't need to worry. Yang Hongwu was indeed surprised by the jade seal in Gu Huahai's hand. He hadn't expected this seal to be a decent supreme treasure. Although its power wasn't as strong as his own, it still wasn't as strong. Although it wasn't as strong as his life seal, it was definitely not simple. It could be said that this seal should be the core of a small world. The appearance of this seal made his Dharma Eye of Annihilation restless. If he could devour this seal, his cultivation would increase by quite a bit. At the same time, his Dharma Eye of Annihilation would also improve. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was tempted. However, there was a problem. This utmost treasure had an owner. Needless to say, the owner of this utmost treasure was none other than the sect leader of the Myriad Immortal Sect, Gu Wanxian. Gu Wanxian's strength was not to be underestimated. Moreover, he was the master of the ancient god domain, so he must have been blessed by luck. In the ancient god domain, his strength could be unleashed to the extreme. Because it could be said that it was practically impossible to kill him in the eternal god domain unless one's strength surpassed him by too much. Otherwise, one could only seal him. Only by seizing his source energy and destroying the Aeon God realm would they be able to kill him. However, Yang Hongwu knew that he wouldn't be able to do that unless he reached the Tao Lord realm. At the very least, he would have to reach the half-step Tao Lord realm. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to succeed. Of course, it was still possible to destroy the Aeon God realm. After all, Yang Hongwu possessed the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. However, once the Dharma of annihilation was exposed, he would be besieged by various experts. He might even be rejected by the entire ancient god domain. This was extremely risky, so Yan Hanwu wouldn't consider it. Moreover, once he destroyed the eternal god domain, then the entire god domain would be implicated. At that time, the entire god domain would be implicated. Not only would the entire ancient god domain be plunged into misery and suffering, but countless people in the entire ancient god domain would also die. You want to kill me? Gu Huahai was even more furious. Yi Futian, a pretty boy at the Imperial Emperor realm, actually wanted to kill him. How could he not be angry? This was mockery and provocation. Moreover, looking at Yang Hongwu's contemptuous face, as if victory was already in his grasp, Gu Huahai's heart and lungs were about to explode from anger. Dream on. If I don't kill you today, I, Gu Huahai, will commit suicide right here and now. Gu Huahai was also infuriated. He actually swore such a vicious oath. For cultivators, it was taboo to swear carelessly. At this moment, Yang Hanwu was amused. Killing him was simply a joke. Even if he couldn't contend against Gu Huahai, he would still be able to escape. There was absolutely no problem for him to escape. However, Gu Huahai had made such an oath. Wasn't he courting death? Moreover, his heart was already filled with anger. It could be said that he had already lost his mind. Against such a person who had lost his mind, his fighting strength would actually be greatly reduced. He could fight very crazily, but without any sense of reason, it was actually very easy to defeat such a person. Dream on? Yang Hanwu smiled faintly. Gu Huahai, today, I'll make you, Huahai. Gu Huahai's jade seal was like a mountain pressing down on Yan Hanwu, but Yan Hanwu was not afraid at all. A huge seal appeared in his hand. This seal's power was very strong. This huge seal in Gu Huahai's hand was even more overbearing and shocking. This seal was none other than the legendary life seal. The moment the life seal appeared, Gu Huahai was stunned. He never imagined that Yan Hanwu would also have a huge seal. Moreover, this huge seal was actually so overbearing and powerful. This was definitely not an ordinary supreme treasure. Moreover, it was a legendary supreme treasure of fortune. In an instant, the two huge seals collided. This time, the earth shook and the mountains shook. This time, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire space shook under the impact of this overbearing power. Spatial cracks were forcefully torn open. One must know that this was the God domain. The current God domain wasn't the God domain of the past. The spatial barrier of the God domain was extremely sturdy. Even if a Tao Lord wanted to tear it open, it would cost a lot. Even if a Tao Lord wanted to tear it open, it would still cost a lot. However, under the collision of the two large seals, the incomparably sturdy spatial barrier was actually torn apart. From this, one could see just how frightening the explosive power of this attack was. Just how powerful was it? Shocking. Yang Hanwu had already expected this collision, so he didn't show the slightest bit of surprise. However, Gu Huahai wasn't calm. He was sent flying by the collision this time. The powerful impact injured him. Fortunately, he dodged in time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to survive. Otherwise, he would have been sent flying into a spatial crack. However, although Yan Hanwu also suffered a powerful impact, it actually didn't cause too much damage to Yan Hanwu. His physical body was too strong. In addition, there was also a powerful world within the life seal. The power that this world gave him was incomparably great, much greater than before. However, he still hadn't completely refined the fragment of the life seal that he obtained from the Divine Palace. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about the $title. He followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Chat about life, find friends. Chapter 2031. Although Gu Huahai was very angry after being injured, it also aroused his greed. The treasure in front of him was even more powerful than the 10,000 immortal seal in his hand. It was very likely to be a supreme treasure of fortune. If he could kill this brat and seize this supreme treasure of fortune, then his strength would be greatly improved. Brat, you've completely infuriated me. I'm going to tear you into pieces. However, if you hand over the seal in your hand and kneel down and beg for mercy, I can spare your life. Gu Huahai wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at Yan Hanwu with sharper eyes. Yan Hanwu sneered. You're just a loser, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. Are you an idiot? You still want to spare my life? Yan Hanwu laughed when he heard this. This guy had been defeated by him, yet he still dared to say such words. Yan Hanwu was amused by his words. Little bastard, you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. This time, Gu Huahai didn't directly use the 10,000 immortal seal to attack. He used it to activate the formation of the 10,000 immortal sect. This is the 10,000 immortal sect. Pretty boy, if I kill you, I can still get the seal in your hand. As soon as his voice fell, the formation of the entire Lotus Mountain changed. The entire sky seemed to be covered, and a terrifying aura spread out. Not good. Husband, he used the 10,000 immortal seal to control the formation of the entire 10,000 immortal sect. This is the most terrifying attack of the 10,000 immortal sect. Hong Qiaoqiao's expression changed greatly as she shouted. Gu Huahai, you dare to use the 10,000 immortal seal. Do you know what you're doing? How dare you use the 10,000 immortal killing formation of the 10,000 immortal sect? Unless the 10,000 immortal sect is in a life and death situation, it's impossible to use the 10,000 immortal killing formation. If Master knows about this, he'll kill you. Kill me? Uncle won't kill me. I'm the only bloodline of the Gu clan. If I die, the Gu clan's bloodline will be severed. Moreover, Uncle promised my father that he'll take care of me. So, even if I use the 10,000 immortals killing formation, Uncle won't do anything to me. At most, he'll lock me up. However, this gigolo must die. The seal is also mine. You. Gu Huahai stared at Hong Qiaoqiao and said, you are also mine. I will make you my woman in front of this gigolo. Ha ha, ha ha. Gu Huahai laughed insolently. His entire face was distorted. Such arrogance caused Hong Qiaoqiao's face to turn ashen. You, don't worry, I'll take care of it. It's just a formation. It's nothing. Yang Hanwu saw that Hong Qiaoqiao was so angry. Yang Hanwu smiled. Marshall didn't have any expression on his face, but in his heart, he had already sentenced Gu Huahai to death. He was already a dead man, someone he had to kill. For others, this so-called myriad immortals killing formation was very powerful and even unbreakable. However, it was different for Yan Hanwu. Who was Yan Hanwu? His attainments and formations had already reached an unbelievable level. If it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation realm hadn't reached that level, Yan Hanwu could directly use the formation to open a world. As for this so-called myriad immortals killing formation, its power was indeed very shocking. If someone who didn't understand formations was in the Tao Lord realm, they wouldn't be able to survive in this formation. It was impossible for him to come out unscathed. He might even be in danger of being killed. However, Yan Hanwu was different. It wasn't difficult to break this formation. In fact, this formation was one of the most powerful formations in the world. It could be said to be one of the most powerful array formations that Yang Hanwu had ever seen. It was comparable to the array formation that sealed Tao Lord Heaven Fiend Tao Lord Heaven span in the Tongtian continent. However, even so, how could Yang Hanwu be worried? This formation could only cause him some trouble at most. Of course, if a Tao Lord expert was in charge of this formation, Yang Hanwu might be a little afraid. However, although Gu Huahai was in charge of this formation, he was still in charge of it. After all, he wasn't the master of the myriad immortal seal and didn't truly control it. His control over this formation hadn't reached the pinnacle, and there were many things that he couldn't control. Moreover, his strength wasn't enough. He was only in the ruler realm. If he reached the Tao Lord realm, it would be a different story. It was because of all these reasons that Yan Hanwu didn't take Gu Huahai seriously at all. If Gu Huahai directly confronted him, it would cause him some trouble. However, if he used a formation to deal with him, he would be courting death. What arrogance! You don't even care about the myriad immortals killing formation of my myriad immortals sect. How arrogant! Even if a Tao Lord expert or the master of the demon Tao, Zetian, came here, they wouldn't dare to look down on the myriad immortals killing formation of my myriad immortals sect. You're just an emperor, yet you're so arrogant. Today, I'll let you know what's the limit of the world. Myriad immortals killing formation, rise. Myriad immortals come out, slay gods and exterminate demons. Gu Huahai shouted. The myriad immortals seal in his hand shone brightly. The entire lotus flower peak was surrounded by immortal music. Countless ancient immortals appeared, unleashing an incomparably majestic power as they attacked Yan Hanwu. The power of 10,000 ancient immortals was so great that it could destroy the world. Yan Hanwu looked at this scene and smiled. With a wave of his hand, runes appeared in the sky one after another. These runes merged into the void instantly. Following which, each and every one of the venerated beings appeared. Then, the ancient immortals disappeared. In the next moment, ancient palaces appeared in the place where the ancient immortals disappeared. In these palaces, countless living beings were praying devoutly. The prayers of these living beings formed an incomparably strong power of faith. This power condensed into a huge sword. This was a powerful sword condensed from the faith of the common people. The life sword. A cold light shot out from Yang Hongwu's eyes. He shouted angrily, "Life sword, slash." As Yang Hongwu's voice fell, the huge sword slashed towards Gu Huahai. Gu Huahai was stunned when he saw this scene. He didn't even have the ability to dodge. He didn't expect Yang Hanwu to be able to dissolve the power of the myriad immortals killing formation. It was as if he had taken away his control of the myriad immortals seal. What kind of secret divine ability is this? Before his voice fell, the huge sword had already pierced through his body. His entire person disappeared in the void. Only then did his voice resound in the lotus flower peak. Hong Qiao was also stunned. She didn't dare to believe what had happened. Her husband was actually so powerful. This unfathomable method was too unimaginable. This kind of strength, this kind of method, was enough to match her master, Gu Wanxian. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book. She also wanted to chat with her friends. She followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for a confidant. Chapter 2032. After killing Gu Huahai, Yan Hanwu grabbed the 10,000 immortal seal. The 10,000 immortal seal wanted to escape after Gu Huahai was killed, but Yan Hanwu wouldn't give it a chance. How could Wu give it the chance to escape? Moreover, this space had already been sealed by Yan Hanwu, so there was no way for the 10,000 immortal seal to escape. The 10,000 immortal seal struggled after being grabbed by Yan Hanwu, but it was all in vain. Yan Hanwu placed a seal on the 10,000 immortal seal. The 10,000 immortal seal was instantly suppressed. In the heavenly wind divine region, Gu Wanxian's expression changed. He had lost his connection with the 10,000 immortal seal. Not only that, but Gu Huahai's aura had also disappeared. Losing his connection with the 10,000 immortal seal meant that it had been taken away by someone else, cutting off the connection between him and the 10,000 immortal seal. However, he had branded the 10,000 immortal seal with his soul imprint. Otherwise, the 10,000 immortal seal couldn't be taken away by someone else. Not even a peak Tao Lord could do it. He wasn't particularly worried about that. Unless he died, no one could refine the 10,000 immortal seal. However, Gu Huahai's aura had disappeared, which meant that he was dead. Gu Huahai was his nephew, his brother's only child, and the only bloodline of the Gu clan. Now that Gu Huahai was dead, the Gu clan's bloodline had been severed. Gu Wanxian was furious. Although Gu Huahai had always been mediocre, he was still the only bloodline of the Gu clan. Gu Wanxian had cultivated a special secret art that severed his bloodline, making it impossible for him to reproduce. It was impossible to leave behind a bloodline inheritance. Therefore, Gu Huahai was the only bloodline inheritance of the Gu clan. Now that Gu Huahai had been killed, how could he not be furious? Moreover, Gu Huahai and the 10,000 immortal seals aura had disappeared at the same time. This meant that someone had invaded the eternal divine region and the 10,000 immortal sect. However, he was currently in the heavenly wind divine region and couldn't leave. Thus, even though he was very anxious and worried, he couldn't wait to return to the eternal divine region. There was nothing he could do about it. What's wrong, old Gu? Old Gu. At this moment, a white-clothed man spoke from not too far away. Something has happened in the eternal God realm. I have to go back, Gu Wanxian said. Something happened to the eternal God realm? Could it be that Devil Lord Zetian has launched an attack on the eternal God realm? No, that's impossible. Devil Lord Zetian should still be in the midst of cultivation. We didn't sense any movement from the Devil Master. If he had made a move, we should have been able to sense it. Could it be that the Devil Master has successfully broken through? The white-robed man's expression changed greatly. If the Lord really made a breakthrough, then there would be big trouble. At that time, it would be difficult for the entire deity realm to survive. No, it shouldn't be the Demon Master. Gu Wanxian shook his head. But it might be related to him. I can't continue exploring the Tianfeng secret realm now. I have to go back. Old Gu, you should know that even if you want to go back now, you won't be able to do it in a short period of time. The white-clothed man shook his head and said, Moreover, our trouble has come. It's impossible for you to go back for the time being. At the very least, you have to solve the problem in front of you. As the white-clothed man's voice fell, a terrifying aura appeared and rushed towards the two of them. Gu Wanxian's expression changed. Let's work together and get rid of this beast. Gu Wanxian said. The two of them nodded, looked at each other, and rushed forward. In the eternal God realm, Yang Hanwu felt an aura. This aura was the aura of Gu Wanxian. This was a secret technique that Gu Wanxian had left behind. He wanted to activate the trump card of the myriad immortal sect. But how could Yang Hanwu let him do as he wished? Husband, why did you kill Gu Huahai? Hong Qiao frowned slightly and said, We have to leave the myriad immortal sect quickly. Otherwise, when Master returns, it will be very troublesome. Hong Qiao didn't have a good impression of Gu Huahai. The reason why she said this was because she was worried about Yang Hanwu. She was worried that her master, Gu Wanxian, would return and confront Yang Hanwu. After all, Yang Hanwu's current cultivation was only at the Emperor realm. Her master, Gu Wanxian, was a Dao Lord expert and the master of the eternal God realm. He could mobilize the origin source. Although the ancient God domain's origin energy didn't increase his strength by much, it could be said that his strength was endless in the eternal God domain. As long as he was in the eternal God domain, as long as the eternal God realm wasn't destroyed, the source of his strength wouldn't disappear. This was the benefit of being the master of a divine realm. Don't worry. Yang Hanwu smiled and said, If I'm not wrong, Gu Wanxian shouldn't be in the eternal God realm. He needs time to rush back. It's not something that can be done in a short period of time. Husband, what's your current cultivation realm? Hong Qiao heaved a sigh of relief when she heard this. She knew that Yang Hanwu would never lie to her. As you can see, my current cultivation base is even lower than yours. I'm only at the Emperor realm, Yang Hanwu said with a smile. Qiao, your cultivation realm is much higher than mine now. You must have suffered a lot during this period of time, right? It's all because I'm too weak. It's been hard on you. I won't let you suffer again in the future. Husband, it's okay. It's all worth it to be able to see my husband again. Hong Qiao was very touched and hugged Yang Hanwu tightly. Although she didn't say it, Yang Hanwu knew that she had suffered a lot. He could feel that Hong Qiao had suffered a lot. After a while, Hong Qiao got up from Yang Hanwu's embrace and looked at Yang Hanwu. Husband, let's leave the myriad immortal sect quickly. Master has been very kind to me and I don't want to go against him, she said. Although she knew that Yang Hongwu was very strong and didn't seem to be afraid of her master, Gu Wanxian, Hong Qiao didn't want to go against Gu Wanxian. Of course, Gu Wanxian was her master and he had been very kind to her. If it wasn't for Gu Wanxian, she might still be on the verge of death. However, on one side, it was her master. On the other side, she was on the other side. She would always stand by her husband, Yang Hongwu's side. If there was no other way, she would still choose to go against Gu Wanxian. Even if Gu Wanxian was her master. Of course, this was under a situation where there was no other choice. Yang Hongwu could see that Hong Qiao was conflicted in her heart. Regarding this, Yang Hongwu wasn't dissatisfied. On the contrary, Yang Hongwu was very grateful to Gu Wanxian. After all, Gu Wanxian had been very kind to Hong Qiao. Hong Qiao was indebted to him and he did not force her to do anything. Just this point alone made Yang Hongwu not want to be enemies with Gu Wanxian. As for killing Gu Wahai, it was completely because Gu Wahai had gone too far. Hong Qiao was his woman and for Yang Hongwu, his woman was his reverse scale. Every dragon had its reverse scale. Anyone who touched it would die. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about article title, on WeChat. He followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2033. Qiao, do you know where the teleportation formation of Myriad Immortals sect is? Yang Hongwu asked. Teleportation formation. By the way, we can use it to leave. I know where it is. Come with me. Hong Qiao quickly took Yang Hongwu's hand and said. Wait, don't worry. Qiao, I'm talking about the teleportation formation of other divine domains. It's a teleportation formation that can cross planes. Yang Hongwu saw that Hong Qiao was so anxious. Sure said. After all, ordinary teleportation formations couldn't do that. Teleportation to other planes? Hong Qiao frowned slightly and said, I know that. However, this teleportation formation can only be opened by Master using the Myriad Immortal Seal. Others can't do it even if they have the Myriad Immortal Seal. The Myriad Immortal Seal is the key to opening the teleportation formation? Yang Hongwu asked, why can't it be opened with the Myriad Immortal Seal? The amount of magic power needed to travel through the teleportation array of the Divine Realm is enormous. Ordinary people can't support such an enormous consumption. Only Tao Lord experts can support it. Our cultivation is far from the Tao Lord level. Therefore, even if we enter the teleportation formation, we can't be teleported to other divine domains. Hong Qiao shook her head. If it wasn't for that, I would have left Eternal Divine Domain long ago to find you. Take me to have a look first. You can refine the Myriad Immortal Seal to protect yourself. Yang Hongwu thought for a while and prepared to erase the imprint in the Myriad Immortal Seal to make Hong Qiao recognize him as its master. After all, the Myriad Immortal Seal was an amazing treasure. No, husband. The Myriad Immortal Seal contains my master's soul imprint. Unless one's cultivation is much higher than master's, it's impossible for others to do it. Qiao said, if you forcefully erase the imprint, you may suffer a backlash from the Myriad Immortal Seal. It's fine. It's just a mere imprint. I just need to construct a teleportation formation to seal the connection with the outside world. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to communicate with the Myriad Immortal Seal. At that time, Gu Wanxian's spiritual imprint in the seal of 10,000 immortals will be isolated and helpless. Without any external support, it won't be difficult to erase it. Marshall was incomparably confident. Impossible. Hong Qiao said, husband, your thinking is too simple. This Myriad Immortal Seal is the core of the entire Myriad Immortal sect, the entire Myriad Immortal Mountain, and even the entire Eternal God Domain. The core of the Myriad Immortal Seal's power was actually connected to the entire Aeon God realm. Apart from a peak Tao Lord, no one could isolate the seal from the Myriad Immortal Seal. Because of the connection between the myriad immortal seal and the myriad immortal seal, the seal would erupt with the power of the entire myriad immortal seal. At that time, it would be equivalent to the entire myriad immortal seal. It's far too dangerous to go against the power of the ancient divine realm. Not even a supreme Tao Lord can do such a thing. No matter what, I have to try. I have to save your sisters. They're in danger right now. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly. In truth, he didn't want to take the risk either. However, he had to take the risk. If Zetian really found them, they definitely wouldn't be able to resist Zetian. After all, Zetian's current strength was too terrifying. Husband, you're saying that my sisters are in other divine realms? Hong Qiao said, if that's the case, we have to go. Husband, I'll ask Master to help me. Sisters, what do you think about this? However, we have to hide Guohai's death. Otherwise, Master won't help us if he finds out. No need. Yan Hanwu said. Your master, Gu Wanxian, is a Tao Lord. There's no way I can hide the fact that I killed Guohai from him. At his level, there's no way I can hide it from him. At that level, he must have left a special mark on Guohai's body. If someone killed Guohai, he'll be able to sense it once they encounter him. After Yang Hanwu killed Guohai, he found a special mark on his body. It was a tracking mark, similar to a curse mark, which could be used for a short period of time. It was impossible to remove. Yang Hanwu himself was helpless about this. In his current situation, he could remove this mark. He only needed to spend some time. However, Yang Hanwu couldn't wait that long. There was no need for him to waste so much time. Using so much energy to remove a mere tracking mark. Then what should we do? Only Master can open the teleportation formation. Husband, why don't you hide first? After I ask Master to open the teleportation formation, you can sneak in? Hong Qiao said. Yang Hanwu still shook his head. You're underestimating a Tao Lord expert. Once he has the 10,000 Immortals seal, the entire 10,000 Immortals sect will be under his control. Even though my concealment technique is unparalleled, it can't escape the detection of the 10,000 Immortals seal. Yang Hanwu had the 10,000 Immortals seal in his hand. Of course, he knew how powerful the 10,000 Immortals seal was. Although it was inferior to his life seal, it was still a top-grade treasure. There was no need to doubt its strength. In addition, Gu Wanxian was a Tao Lord expert. Yang Hanwu had already seen the strength of a Tao Lord expert. For example, Tao Lord Mad Battle. Gu Wanxian's strength might not be as strong as Mad Battle. Mad Battle was so strong, but in reality, he wasn't that weak. Husband, what should we do? Hong Qiao was helpless. She was also very worried about her sisters. She knew that it was a feeling of longing. After all, her days without Yang Hanwu were like years. If she didn't cultivate crazily to numb herself, she wouldn't have been able to escape. She believed that if Yang Hanwu could find her in the end, she wouldn't know how to continue living. No hurry. Take me to have a look first. As for the 10,000 Immortals seal, I can try to help you refine it, Yang Hanwu said. Husband, are you really confident? Hong Qiao was still very worried. However, she had already brought Yang Hanwu to the main peak of the 10,000 Immortals sect, where the 10,000 Immortals Palace was located. The 10,000 Immortals Palace was the core of the 10,000 Immortals sect, where Gu Wanxian cultivated. It was also the foundation of the entire 10,000 Immortals sect. Fairy Hong, you're here. Seeing Hong Qiao's appearance, the guardians of the 10,000 Immortals Palace welcomed her with smiles. They were very respectful to Hong Qiao. She was the only disciple of the sect master. One could imagine how high her status was. She was the only successor of the sect master. If there were no accidents, she should be the young sect master of the 10,000 Immortals sect. Her status was second only to the sect master, Gu Wanxian. She couldn't even compare to Gu Wanxian's nephew, Guohai. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about the article. Article_title? She followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, finding confidence. Chapter 2034. Hong Chao Chao didn't say anything. She nodded and led Yang Hanwu into the main hall. The guardian didn't dare to say anything. Elder Song, you let them in just like that? That man doesn't seem to be from our Myriad Immortals sect. A young disciple looked at Yang Hongwu's back with jealousy. He said to the guardian beside him, "What do you know? If I'm not wrong, that young man's aptitude is extremely outstanding. Although his cultivation realm isn't too high, he has an aura that even I am afraid of. Moreover, didn't you notice the way Fairy Hong looked at that man? Clearly, that man holds an extremely high position in Fairy Hong's heart. If you and I were to stop him, if we stop you, it's equivalent to offending Fairy Hong. Moreover, even if we stop him, can we stop him?" Elder Song said. "But, isn't young Master Gu?" Before the young disciple could finish his words, he was interrupted. "Little Lin, you're still too young. Although Gu Huahai is the nephew of the sect leader, his aptitude is only average. Compared to those true geniuses, Fairy Hong is the personal disciple of the sect leader. Her aptitude is outstanding, and her cultivation speed is far beyond that of ordinary people. She will become the future sect leader of our Myriad Immortals sect. Tell me, is Gu Huahai more important or Fairy Hong more important?" Hearing this, the young disciple didn't say anything. He had to admit that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. "Young man, I know you're jealous, but you have to understand that the gap between you and Fairy Hong is too big. You don't have any chance. Therefore, don't have any ideas," the guardian said. Yang Hanwu didn't know what the two of them were talking about. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. At this moment, he and Hong Chao Chao had already entered the Myriad Immortals Hall. After stepping into the Myriad Immortal Palace, Yang Hanwu felt a special force. This special force had a strong repulsive force to Yang Hanwu. It was a strong repulsive force. This repulsive force seemed to want to push Yang Hanwu out. Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. Who would have thought that this formation would have the ability to identify people? However, it was not difficult for Yang Hanwu to deceive this formation. With a thought, Yang Hanwu withdrew his aura and began to change his soul chi. If he wanted to, Yang Hanwu could directly refine this formation. However, he had to admit that it would be difficult to refine this formation in a short period of time. Do it within a short period of time. "Husband, take my hand," Hong Chao Chao said. "This formation has an identification function. Those who don't have the Myriad Immortals sect's disciple token will be rejected by the formation. It doesn't matter. A mere formation can't stop me." Yang Hanwu smiled. At this moment, he already knew this formation like the back of his hand. Of course, it was just a defensive formation. In fact, Yang Hanwu also knew that the formations of the entire Myriad Immortals Palace were connected. It could be said that pulling one part of the formation would affect the whole formation. If one wanted to activate a formation, the entire Myriad Immortals Palace would be activated. The entire Myriad Immortal Mountain was, in fact, a super large array. The person who was able to set up such a huge formation definitely had great attainments in formations. Even Yang Hanwu himself had never tried to set up such a huge formation. Of course, it was not that Yang Hanwu could not do it himself, but that it would take a lot of time and cost to arrange such a formation. In addition, there was no need for Yang Hanwu to arrange such a formation now. However, it would be good to learn such a formation. After all, the enemy he was facing now was very powerful. His old rival Zetian's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. In terms of cultivation realm, Zetian was already far ahead of him. Since he could not suppress his opponent in terms of cultivation realm, he could only rely on his own strengths to fight against him. That was, formations, restrictions, and other aspects. If he had enough resources and time, he could arrange a super formation, which could also compete with Zetian. The super formation of the Myriad Immortals sect in front of him just happened to give him a lot of inspiration. Open. Yang Hanwu shouted softly. Under Hong Qiaoqiao's surprised gaze, the formation of the Myriad Immortals Palace underwent an amazing change. The spiritual energy of the entire Myriad Immortals Palace gathered towards the two of them. Moreover, as the two of them walked, the spiritual energy in the surroundings constantly surrounded the two of them. Husband, how did you do this? Hong Qiaoqiao saw this scene and was so incredible. It shocked her too much. She never thought that someone could make the entire radius of several feet around them without deliberately cultivating. The spiritual energy within the palace all surrounded them. This was obviously not because of her, so there was only one possibility. This was done by Yang Hanwu. Formation. Yang Hanwu smiled. With a wave of his hand, he changed the formation again. The surrounding spiritual energy was dispelled by Yang Hanwu. After all, in this Myriad Immortals Palace, Yang Hanwu felt other auras. There were many experts in the Myriad Immortals Palace, not only Hong Qiaoqiao. Only Qiaoqiao alone could enter here. In addition to Gu Wanxian, there were other experts in the Myriad Immortals Palace. After all, this was the foundation of the Myriad Immortals sect. Those who cultivated here were some ancient experts, the old antiques of the Myriad Immortals sect. Many of them were very ancient existences. Although they were not as strong as Gu Wanxian, they had been in the Myriad Immortals sect for a very long time. Husband, you're really amazing. However, husband, it's better not to use this kind of magical secret technique casually in the Myriad Immortals Palace. There are some ancient experts in the Myriad Immortals Palace. These existences exist to guard the Myriad Immortals sect. Although they usually cultivate in seclusion and won't come out unless the Myriad Immortals sect is in danger of being exterminated, but if there are some special situations, they might come out. They might appear under some special circumstances, so you have to be careful, husband. Hong Qiaoqiao was very happy that Yang Hanwu had such a powerful divine ability, but she didn't expect him to have such a powerful divine ability. However, she still reminded him. Yang Hanwu nodded and said, "Don't worry, I know this. When I use this secret technique, I have already isolated the space, so others don't know." After a while, Yang Hanwu and Hong Qiaoqiao came to the entrance of an inconspicuous courtyard. The teleportation formation is here. Hong Qiaoqiao pointed at the inconspicuous courtyard. What a teleportation formation! Yang Hanwu had a powerful divine eye that could see through all disguises and illusions. Of course, he could see that this courtyard was just an illusion. It was just a teleportation formation. After being teleported in, they would be in a small world. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about the $article_title. He followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2035. Husband, stay behind me for a while, Hong Qiaoqiao said. There's no need for that. Yang Hanwu said, you should be the one behind me. Qiaoqiao, you have to remember that you're my woman. You shouldn't be in front of me when it comes to danger. Yang Hanwu said as he pulled Hong Qiaoqiao behind him. I know what you're worried about. This formation won't be able to stop me. With that, the two stepped into the formation. With a flash of light, Yang Hanwu and Hong Qiaoqiao entered a space. This space was filled with rich spatial power, and a huge ancient pagoda appeared in front of them. In front of them. Husband, that ancient pagoda is the transport pagoda of the eternal God domain. Only this transport pagoda is capable of transferring between divine domains. However, if you want to transfer between divine domains, you have to use it first. However, teleportation between divine realms consumes a huge amount of energy. It requires a Tao Lord to do it, Hong Qiaoqiao said to Yang Hanwu. After all, neither of them were Tao Lords. They didn't have enough magic power and mental force to support it. It's an ancient pagoda. Yang Hanwu's heart skipped a beat when he saw the ancient pagoda. It was so similar to his immortal pagoda that they seemed to come from the same source. However, Yang Hanwu knew very well that this ancient pagoda was a supreme treasure, while his pagoda was only an immortal treasure. there was a huge difference between an immoral treasure and a supreme treasure. Yang Hanwu even suspected that his immoral pagoda was a replica of this ancient pagoda. Of course, although the two were very similar, they were in fact completely different. His immortal pagoda had astonishing defenses, while this ancient pagoda had powerful teleportation abilities. It was a supreme spatial treasure. However, Yang Hanwu guessed that there was definitely a connection between the two pagodas. This was only Yang Hanwu's guess. As for whether it was true, Yang Hanwu didn't know. Moreover, even if he knew that there was a connection, Yang Hanwu didn't have the time to investigate it. There was no need to dwell on this. "Come, let's enter the teleportation tower," Yang Hanwu said. "Husband, let me go in first. After all, I am a disciple of the 10,000 Immortals sect, and I possess the 10,000 Immortals seal," Hong Qiao said. "There's no need." Yang Hanwu shook his head. "Although you are a disciple of the Myriad Immortals sect, I reckon that Gu Wanxian has already sealed off the other abilities of using the Myriad Immortals seal to open the transfer tower. Whoever uses the 10,000 Immortals seal at this time will definitely be targeted." Yang Hanwu had seen how terrifying a Tao Lord was. Although he wasn't in the Eternal God domain, he still had ways to control some things in the Eternal God domain. If he didn't even have this ability, then as a Tao Lord, as the master of a God realm, it would be a waste of his cultivation. In fact, Yang Hanwu had already sensed several powerful auras, which seemed to be surrounding the entire Myriad Immortal Palace. These powerful auras belonged to the old fogies of the Myriad Immortals sect. Gu Wanxian must have used some special means to send a message to these old fogies, causing some of them to move out. Earlier on, he was still a little careless. However, it was fortunate that he had cultivated a special skill that allowed him to sense it. Coupled with his powerful concealment and space-time isolation skills, he was able to do so. Retracting his aura, he sealed up the entire space. Hong Qiao. Just as the two of them were about to enter the transfer tower, a voice rang out. This voice was extremely loud and clear. The moment he heard this voice, Yang Hongwu's face changed. Even though he had noticed the auras of powerful beings outside, he had not expected that there would be another powerful being within the transfer tower. To think that a powerful being would be able to hide from him. How could Yang Hanwu not be shocked? There were way too few people who could hide their auras from him. Even if it were a Tao Lord, the chances of them concealing their auras before him were extremely slim. Yet, this powerful being had managed to do it. How could Yang Hanwu not be wary of this powerful being? The strength of this person was definitely frightening. There was a high chance that this being was a Tao Lord. However, Yang Hanwu did not believe that a mere God domain would have two Tao Lord experts. Most likely, this God realm wouldn't be able to support two Tao Lords. After all, even though the Eternal God domain was incomparably huge, the fortune of this God domain would not be able to support it. This was something that the laws of this God domain did not allow. In the entire God domain, every single God domain could only give birth to a single Tao Lord expert. This was the limit. Unless there was an unparalleled expert who could break through the restrictions of the laws. However, if there was someone who could break through the restrictions of the laws, that person would most likely surpass the Tao Lord realm. The information that appeared in Yang Hongwu's mind left him stunned. This information had suddenly appeared in his mind. The appearance of this information made Yang Hongwu even more worried. This should be the recovery of his memories from his previous life. As his memories of his previous life continued to recover, it meant that his strength from his previous life was also recovering. Yang Hongwu realized that the unique power within his body was sealed. However, the seal seemed to be slowly fading away. If these memories hadn't suddenly appeared, Yang Hongwu really wouldn't have realized that the terrifying power sealed deep within his body was breaking the seal. If these powers and memories were completely recovered, would he still be himself? After all, if it was the memories of an expert surpassing the Tao Lord realm, how vast would that be? How much experience did he have? A mere 100 years of memories was like a drop of water in the ocean in front of those enormous memories. How could a small drop of water affect the vast ocean? Even if a small river flowed into the ocean, it would only be the ocean and would not change the ocean much. His mere 100 years of memories were nothing compared to the memories of an unparalleled expert. In front of an unparalleled expert, it was not worth mentioning at all and could not cause any waves. "Husband, what's wrong?" Seeing Yang Hanwu stunned at this moment, Hong Xiao was very worried. Yang Hanwu was shocked and came back to his senses. "I'm fine." Yang Hanwu shook his head. "Don't worry." "Hong Xiao, hand over the 10,000 immortal seal." The expert revealed his figure. It was a white-haired old man. He looked haggard as if he would die at any moment. Like an old tree that was about to wither, his vitality had dissipated to the extreme. However, his voice was unusually loud and clear. "Old man of life and death?" Hong Xiao's face changed drastically when she saw the person who came. You are the legendary old man of life and death?" "I didn't expect that after so many years, there would still be someone who remembers this old man's name. This old man is really honored." The old man of life and death said indifferently. "Hong Xiao, you are my 10,000 immortals sect's disciple. Hand over the 10,000 immortals seal and enter the cliff of life and death to reflect on your mistakes." He wanted to chat with more like-minded people. $_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2036. Old man, what a big mouth. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Yang Hanwu was furious when he saw how arrogant this old man was and how he didn't put him in his eyes. Not only did this old man speak arrogantly, but he also wanted to lock up his woman. He didn't care about the old man of life and death. This old thing was indeed very strange, and his strength was indeed very strong, but so what? If he dared to attack and provoke him, only death awaited him. "Kid, how dare you barge into my myriad immortal sect? You're courting death. However, I can give you a chance to live." The old man of life and death looked at Yang Hanwu. This was because this young man had given him too many surprises. He could tell that although this young man's cultivation was only at the Emperor realm, his aura was unusually strong. This alone was enough to prove that this kid wasn't simple. His combat strength far surpassed those of the same level. Moreover, from the way he entered the Myriad Immortal Palace, this kid's talent was extraordinary. He was even more talented than Hong Xiao. If that wasn't the case, he would have killed Yang Hanwu long ago. Old man life and death had lived for countless years and had seen many geniuses. Back then, he had watched Gu Wanxian grow up. It could be said that back then, Gu Wanxian was still a child. When Gu Wanxian was still a child, he was already a half-step Dao Lord. However, he couldn't break through. In the end, he watched Gu Wanxian grow into the ruler of the eternal God realm and become a Dao Lord. He felt gratified but also jealous. In fact, Gu Wanxian wasn't his disciple. This was something that he had been very depressed about. Although he couldn't become a Dao Lord, if he could nurture a Dao Lord disciple would be very good. Although Hong Xiao was talented, she wasn't suitable for his inheritance. Moreover, Hong Xiao was valued by Gu Wanxian. As Gu Wanxian's senior, he naturally couldn't compete with Gu Wanxian for the inheritance. Moreover, Gu Wanxian was the sect master of the Myriad Immortal sect. He couldn't compete with him. This young man who barged into the Myriad Immortal sect had amazing talent. He was definitely the best candidate for a disciple. However, this kind of genius wasn't so easy to subdue. Usually, the more talented a person was, the more arrogant they were. The life and death old man naturally knew about this. After all, he had seen a lot of such things. The life and death old man was not angered by Yang Hongwu's rude words. After all, in his heart, that boy was already his disciple. This was especially true for someone like him who was nearing the end of his lifespan. To be able to have a good disciple was naturally something he yearned for even in his dreams. He had waited for far too long. This time, he finally met a good seedling. How could he be angry? He couldn't be happier. However, since he was taking in a disciple, he naturally had to display his strength first and suppress the other party's arrogance. Only in this way can the other party be sincerely convinced and be willing to become one of us. He was his disciple. Of course, this kid's talent was so amazing that he must have been nurtured by someone. However, the old man of life and death didn't care about that. If anyone dared to stop him, then they would have to face the consequences. His enemy. At this moment, old man life and death erupted with a terrifying aura. This terrifying aura was the most terrifying aura Yan Hanwu had ever seen from someone who wasn't a Tao Lord. It was comparable to an ordinary Tao Lord, which surprised Yan Hanwu. He was sure that this old man life and death's cultivation realm had definitely not reached the Tao Lord realm. However, his aura was comparable to a Tao Lord realm expert. Moreover, what surprised Yan Hanwu the most was that he didn't rely on any treasures. Instead, he relied purely on his own strength to erupt with his aura. This old man's strength was really strong. At least, among the cultivators below the Tao Lord realm that Yan Hanwu had seen, there was absolutely no one who could compare with him. However, Yan Hanwu wasn't afraid. For Yan Hanwu, unless he was facing a Tao Lord realm expert, he was absolutely fearless. Even if Yan Hanwu wasn't a match for a Tao Lord realm expert, he would definitely not be killed in an instant. This was Yan Hanwu's confidence. The aura of this old man life and death was indeed terrifying. However, what surprised Yan Hanwu was that he didn't feel a trace of killing intent from this old man life and death. This made Yan Hanwu puzzled. Logically speaking, he wasn't a member of the Myriad Immortal sect. However, this time, he didn't just barge into the Myriad Immortal sect. Moreover, he had killed Gu Wahai, the nephew of the sect master of the Myriad Immortal sect, Gu Wanxian. What he had done in the Myriad Immortal sect could definitely be said to be a heinous crime. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he would fight to the death with the Myriad Immortal sect. However, this old man life and death of the Myriad Immortal sect had an aura of killing intent. It was strange that this person did not have the slightest bit of killing intent towards him. Could it be that this old man wasn't a member of the Myriad Immortal sect at all? Or did he have a grudge against the Myriad Immortal sect? No matter what the relationship between this old man and the Myriad Immortal sect was, Yan Hanwu didn't care. Whether there was enmity or hatred, as long as he blocked him, he was his enemy. Old man, although your strength is not bad, it's impossible to deal with me. Yan Hanwu said coldly. Your aura seems to be shocking, but there's no killing intent. It's not threatening to me. Seeing that you don't have any killing intent towards me, old man, I can let you leave. Yan Hanwu's words made the old man life and death slightly stunned. Then, he smiled. Yan Hanwu's performance was beyond his expectation. He didn't expect that under such a terrifying aura, Yan Hanwu would be so calm. Under such a terrifying aura, Yan Hanwu could still be so calm. It was very amazing. Moreover, more importantly, he could find that there was no killing intent in his aura. This kid was really amazing. He had to admit that a person who could cultivate such a disciple was definitely not that simple. If he wanted to fight for this disciple, he was afraid that it would be difficult. It wouldn't be an easy thing to do. However, for the old man life and death, as long as he could fight for such a genius as his legacy disciple, he could accept any price, even if it was his life. After all, for him, his lifespan was about to reach its limit. It was just a year. After a year, it would be the time for his soul to return. In fact, with his cultivation base, there was no point in staying here. This was also the reason why he didn't continue his closed-door cultivation and appeared here. Apart from him, the other old members of the Myriad Immortal sect were also here. They were all in closed-door cultivation and wanted to break through to the Tao Lord realm. However, how could it be so easy to break through to the Tao Lord realm? He was already a half-step Tao Lord expert countless years ago. However, after so many years, he still couldn't find the opportunity to break through to the Tao Lord realm at the end of his lifespan. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book, $article_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2037. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, no matter how good-tempered the old man of life and death was, he would still be angry. Yang Hongwu didn't put him in his eyes. Could it be that Yang Hongwu still had some powerful trump card? Otherwise, it was impossible for Yang Hongwu to be so fearless in the face of an expert like him. He didn't think that Yang Hongwu couldn't sense his powerful strength. Although he wasn't a Tao Lord, the old man of life and death knew that if he went all out, he could even contend against a Tao Lord. Little guy, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If I don't teach you a lesson, you really won't know what fear is. The old man of life and death shouted and stretched out his hand towards Yang Hongwu. The old man of life and death grabbed Yang Hongwu with his powerful strength. The old man of life and death knew that Yang Hongwu definitely couldn't resist his heaven-grabbing hand. Even the sect master, Gu Wanxian, couldn't fight him head-on. Capturing an Emperor Realm kid was just a piece of cake. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Although Yang Hongwu's cultivation was only at the Emperor Realm, he could still escape in front of a Tao Lord. It was just that he would have to pay a big price. Unless the opponent was a Tao Lord who comprehended the Tao of space, it was absolutely impossible to catch him. The moment the old man of life and death attacked, Yang Hongwu disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, Yang Hongwu appeared dozens of feet away. This time, the old man of life and death's heaven-grabbing hand missed. A huge claw mark appeared in the void. Seeing this scene, Hong Qiao couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The old man of life and death was indeed a legendary figure. He was really very powerful. She was worried for Yang Hongwu. However, seeing Yang Hongwu easily avoid the old man of life and death's attack, she was relieved. Originally, she planned to live if her husband Yang Hongwu was really no match for him. The old man of life and death would plead for mercy. However, seeing her husband Yang Hongwu easily avoid it, she didn't have such thoughts. She secretly cheered for Yang Hongwu in her heart. She was very happy that her husband was so powerful. Brat, you've actually comprehended the spatial Tao. No wonder you're so arrogant and don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The life and death old man was extremely shocked when Yang Hongwu managed to dodge his heaven-grabbing hand. The heaven-grasping hand that he thought was infallible was actually easily dodged by Yang Hongwu, which made him very surprised. This meant that Yang Hongwu's comprehension of the Tao of space had already reached a certain level. It had reached an incredible level. In fact, the heaven-grasping hand that he had cultivated had also reached an extreme level. Generally speaking, the heaven-grasping hand that he had cultivated had also reached an extreme level. It was absolutely impossible for an expert to dodge so easily. It was impossible for him to not discover any clues. If it was an ordinary person, even if the other party was a half-step Tao Lord expert and used the Tao of space, he would still be able to capture some traces of it with his heaven's grasping hand. But when it came to Yang Hongwu, he actually couldn't capture any traces of it. From this, it could be seen how domineering and powerful Yang Hongwu's comprehension of the Tao of space was. Time was king and space was king. This was how terrifying the Tao of space was. Only the Tao of time could be comparable to the Tao of space. In the divine realm, there were very few people who had comprehended the Tao of time and the Tao of space. Of course, there were even fewer people who could break through to the Tao Lord realm with the Tao of space and the Tao of time. The only person who had reached the Tao Lord realm because of the Tao of time was the original master of the divine realm, the legendary existence. The legendary existence who had created the divine realm was an existence who had comprehended the Tao of space and the Tao of time. The Tao of space and the Tao of time at that level weren't the spatial and time laws that ordinary cultivators had comprehended. They were existences that surpassed the laws. In fact, old man life and death had overestimated Yang Hongwu. His comprehension of the Tao of space wasn't that strong. The reason why Yang Hongwu could dodge it so easily was because of Yang Hongwu. The special cultivation technique he cultivated in his special physique could be said to be his innate divine ability. Husband, don't be careless. Hong Xiao couldn't help but remind Yang Hanwu when she saw that he didn't care about old man life and death at all. After all, she had heard about how powerful old man life and death was. As the last disciple of Gu Wanxian, how could she not know about some of the ancient experts in the Myriad Immortal sect? In the Myriad Immortal sect, there were records of old antiques like old man life and death. However, ordinary people weren't qualified to know about them. As the last disciple of Gu Wanxian was qualified to know about them. Therefore, she knew a lot of information about the old antiques of the Myriad Immortal sect. Old man life and death was the oldest among the old antiques in the Myriad Immortal sect. He was the most powerful one. Don't worry. Yang Hanwu said to Hong Xiao, I know what I'm doing. It's not like you don't know. I'll never underestimate my opponent. Old man life and death is quite strong. After all, he hasn't reached the Tao Lord realm. If he had reached the Tao Lord realm, I might be afraid and immediately take you away. Although this old man is close to the Tao Lord realm, he's still a step away. Moreover, this old man's lifespan has reached its limit. If he uses more power, then his soul will be gone. He'll die. Old man life and death couldn't help but widen his eyes when he heard this. Only he knew the secret of his lifespan reaching its end. Even Gu Wanxian, the sect master of the Myriad Immortal sect, didn't know about it. How could he not be shocked when Yang Hanwu saw through it? Boy, how did you know? Old man life and death asked loudly. How did I know? Yang Hanwu smiled and said, Of course I saw through it. To me, even if you fight with your life on the line, you won't be able to keep me here. There's no murderous aura in your body, so you won't risk your life to keep me here. If I'm not wrong, you should be looking for a suitable successor before you die, right? Old man life and death took a deep breath and looked at Yang Hanwu. That's right. Boy, you really surprised me. I don't know who nurtured you, but there must be a peerless expert behind you. I'm afraid the person who nurtured you is a Tao Lord realm existence. Yang Hanwu smiled and didn't explain. In fact, how could he have a Tao Lord realm expert as his backing? Since you've already seen that my lifespan is reaching its end, I'm also looking for a suitable successor before I die. Are you willing to become my disciple and learn my Tao of life and death? Old man life and death looked at Yang Hanwu with eyes full of anticipation. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book, $_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for a confidant. Chapter 2038. The Inheritance of the Tao of Life and Death. Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes and looked at the old man of life and death. This old man had an aura that made him wary. This was why the old man of life and death could be so powerful. As a half-step Tao Lord, he could crush other half-step Tao Lords. He could be said to be an invincible existence below the Tao Lord realm. This old man of life and death was definitely not simple. It was likely that there was a very powerful treasure. As for that treasure, it was the thing that had made him, the old man of life and death, famous. However, it was impossible for him to become his disciple. At Yang Hongwu's current level, unless he was a peak Tao Lord expert, it would help him greatly. Otherwise, Yang Hanwu wouldn't have cared at all. It had to be known that Yang Hanwu had to consider even an expert at Zhiga's level, not to mention a mere one. Yang Hanwu really didn't care about a peak half-step Tao Lord like the old man of life and death. After all, the old man of life and death couldn't be compared to Zhiga. But why wasn't Yang Hanwu in the Zhiga Divine Palace? Why did he choose to continue challenging the Zhiga Divine Palace's examination? First, Yang Hanwu was very worried about his women, namely Hong Xiao and the others. This was one of the reasons. After all, in Yang Hongwu's heart, his beloved was the most important. If he couldn't guarantee their safety, everything else was in vain. If he couldn't even protect his beloved, how could he cultivate? Second, although Zhiga's cultivation was incomparably powerful, Yang Hanwu didn't know what Zhiga was thinking or what he was plotting against him. If Zhiga wanted to do something to him, then so be it. Yang Hanwu knew that he couldn't compete at all. So, this was the second reason. It was because of these two reasons that Yang Hanwu chose to leave the Zhiga Divine Palace and return to the Divine Realm. In the middle. But no matter what, the old man of life and death in front of him was definitely not comparable to Tao Lord Zhiga. No matter what Zhiga thought about him, the old man of life and death could help him. However, the old man of life and death couldn't help him more than Zhiga. Therefore, Yang Hanwu wouldn't consider letting Yang Hanwu become the successor of the old man of life and death. However, the old man of life and death had something that was extremely attractive to him. This was because it was a supreme destiny-level treasure. It was very likely that he had the life and death talisman on him. In other words, it was something related to the life and death talisman. Yang Hanwu was very familiar with the aura and power of the talisman. The life and death divine talisman was one of the divine talismans that shot out from the fortune heavenly gate. Back then, Yang Hanwu had obtained some clues about the divine talisman many times. However, in the end, he was unable to obtain the complete divine talisman. Every time, the result would disappoint him. Endless. This time, the old man of life and death had made Yang Hanwu feel a trace of the aura of the life and death talisman. Perhaps this old man of life and death really had something to do with the life and death talisman. If he really had the life and death talisman on him, he would have made a huge profit this time. Once he obtained the life and death talisman, his chances of winning against Zetian would be much higher. After all, no one knew how strong Zetian, who was at the Tao Lord level, was. However, one thing was certain. If his cultivation was only at the Emperor level, he would definitely be unable to defeat Zetian. It was absolutely impossible for them to defeat Zetian, let alone kill him. That was simply an impossible task. You have a supreme treasure related to the Tao of life and death on you? Yang Hanwu asked. You can see it? The old man of life and death wasn't surprised at all when he heard this. Others couldn't discover this supreme treasure on him, but Yang Hanwu could see it. He was not surprised at all. After all, Yang Hanwu had surprised him too much. It seemed that everything that was impossible for Yang Hanwu to happen would be normal if it happened. Even though the old man of life and death had just met Yang Hanwu, he already had such a feeling about Yang Hanwu. He could foresee that if Yang Hanwu grew up, he would definitely be more terrifying than Gu Xiansheng and Gu Xiansheng. As long as he didn't fall, Yang Hanwu was destined to become one of the best in the divine realm. He could even grow up to be the ruler of the entire divine realm. It was even possible for him to become the ruler of the divine realm. Moreover, this feeling was getting stronger and stronger. If he could become Yang Hanwu's master and pass on his inheritance to him, it would definitely be a great honor for him. However, he could also see that it wouldn't be easy for Yang Hanwu to become his successor. However, he also knew that although Yang Hanwu was arrogant, he still had a weakness. She was arrogant, but she still had a weakness, and that was Hong Qiao Qiao. Perhaps Hong Qiao Qiao was a good breakthrough point. Yes, I have a supreme treasure related to the Tao of life and death on me. Although I obtained this supreme treasure, it didn't really recognize me as its master. My cultivation base is also because of this supreme treasure. If it wasn't for this supreme treasure, I wouldn't have the illustrious name of the old man of life and death. If you are willing to worship me as your master and become my disciple, then this supreme treasure will belong to you. If that's the case, then this treasure will belong to you, the life-death old man said as he looked at Yang Hanwu. Becoming your disciple? That's impossible. Yang Hanwu shook his head and said, although the supreme treasure of the Tao of life and death on you is powerful and very tempting, it hasn't reached the level of where I have to bow down and worship you as my master. After a pause, Yang Hanwu continued, if you give this supreme treasure to me, maybe I can give you a chance to extend your life and let your cultivation reach another level. The old man of life and death looked at Yang Hanwu in surprise when he heard this. He actually said such words, which shocked the old man of life and death. What gave him the confidence to say such words? Increase his lifespan? Let him break through his current realm? Even a Tao Lord expert wouldn't dare to say such words and boast like this. The old man of life and death was very clear about his own body. He relied on that supreme treasure to squeeze his lifespan to the limit. that supreme treasure was a supreme treasure of the Tao of life and death. It allowed his comprehension of the Tao of life and death to reach an extremely profound level. Although in front of the real Tao of life and death, it was probably just a little bit of superficial knowledge. However, he knew that his lifespan had really reached the limit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given up like this. After all, no one wanted to die. As for letting him break through, it was not very possible. Although he had reached the peak of the half-step Tao Lord realm a long time ago, he was still unable to take that step. His current cultivation realm was only a line away from the true Tao Lord realm, but he still couldn't do it. He had searched for countless methods, but they were all in vain. This made him feel very helpless. "Are you making fun of me?" The old man of life and death looked at Yang Hanwu angrily. "I haven't found a suitable successor for so many years. Only your talent caught my eye, but you are making fun of me. Is this how you spend your time with me?" He wanted to talk to more like-minded people about the book $article_title. On WeChat, he followed excellent reading literature. Talking about life, looking for a confidant. Chapter 2039. Make fun of you? Yang Hanwu laughed and said, "Why should I make fun of you? I don't have that much time to talk nonsense with you. If it wasn't for your appearance, I would have already left the ancient god domain. You're the one who's wasting my time. If it wasn't for the fact that you don't have any killing intent towards me, would you still be able to talk to me so casually? What a big tone. Let me see what you're capable of." The old man of life and death was truly infuriated. He looked at Yang Hanwu and said loudly. He waved his hand and a black and white aura appeared. This aura condensed and turned into 2 flood dragons. These 2 flood dragons roared and rushed towards Yang Hanwu. They rushed forward. Life and death aura? Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes when he saw this scene. These 2 flood dragons were formed by the life and death aura. This should be the trump card that the old man of life and death was talking about. However, Yang Hanwu could tell that the old man of life and death hadn't used his full strength in this attack. It was only a probing attack. In fact, the old man of life and death was indeed so. His attack was just to give Yang Hanwu a taste of his own medicine and suppress his arrogance. He didn't want to injure or kill Yang Hanwu. After all, he still wanted to make Yang Hanwu his successor. If he injured Yang Hanwu, he would be heartbroken, let alone kill him. The life and death aura is indeed very powerful. However, it's still not enough. Although the life and death aura is extremely powerful, it can't pose any threat to me. Yang Hanwu snorted coldly. A huge furnace appeared. This huge furnace was the devouring furnace. The devouring furnace erupted with a terrifying devouring power. It was like a terrifying giant beast had opened its mouth and swallowed the flood dragons formed by the life and death aura. Go in. After the life and death aura was swallowed into the furnace, Yang Hanwu began to refine the life and death aura. Yang Hanwu's aura also increased. The chi of life and death was devoured and refined by Yang Hanwu in a very short time. After all, the chi of life and death was a very powerful and overbearing force. It allowed Yang Hanwu's strength to increase by a lot. Of course, there was still a huge gap before he could break through. This is the path of devouring? Old man life and death's eyes widened as he looked at Yang Hanwu in disbelief. Among the 3,000 great Daos, the life and death great Dao was definitely at the front. However, the devouring great Dao was definitely ahead of the life and death Dao. Even the legendary time Dao and space Dao might not be more powerful than the devouring Dao. It was enough to show how terrifying the devouring Dao was. The Dao of devouring could devour everything. In fact, he could even devour and refine other great Dao laws. Seeing Yang Hanwu, this terrifying furnace, crazily devouring his own life and death chi, this was definitely a manifestation of the Dao of devouring. He had not expected that Yang Hanwu would be so powerful at such a young age. It was no wonder that he looked down on his life and death Dao and was unwilling to become his disciple. With such a Dao of devouring, ordinary people would not be able to accept him. Perhaps if he wanted to become Yang Hongwu's master, a half-step Tao Lord cultivator like him would not be enough. He took a deep breath and felt helpless. It was a pity that he could not accept such a young man with heaven-defying talent as his disciple. At this moment, he knew that he would not have a disciple of inheritance. It was impossible for someone who possessed the Tao of devouring to inherit his life and death Tao. No matter how heaven-defying a person's talent was, it was impossible to comprehend two supreme great Taos. I didn't expect you to possess the Tao of devouring. You really look down on my life and death Tao. What a pity. After sighing, Old Man Life and Death waved his hand at Yang Hongwu. He said, "Kid, you can leave." Leave? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and said, "You want me to leave now? You've wasted so much of my time. You're not going to give me some compensation?" If it was before, Yang Hongwu would have left without saying a word. But now, he had wasted so much of his time. How could Yang Hongwu be willing to let him leave just like that? Willing? Kid, are you willing to take me as your master? Old Man Life and Death looked at Yang Hongwu with a trace of surprise on his face. He knew very well that the possibility of this was very small. It's absolutely impossible for me to take you as my master. However, you've wasted so much of my time. Shouldn't you give me your supreme treasure that contains the life and death Tao as compensation? Yang Hongwu said indifferently, "Moreover, your lifespan is about to end. I said that I can extend your lifespan and even give you a chance to break through. As for the reward, it's your supreme treasure." Old Man Life and Death did not get angry. Instead, he smiled and said, "Okay, kid. If you can really extend my lifespan and give me an opportunity to break through, then I'll give you the supreme treasure in my hand. So what if I give you the supreme treasure of the life and death Tao? However, what if you can't do it? If you can't do it, you'll have to take me as your master and accept my inheritance. If you want the supreme treasure of the life and death Tao, it'll also be yours. After all, you'll be my disciple. Once I die, everything I have will be yours. I've been in the divine realm for countless years. I still have a lot of treasures in my collection. It can be said that there aren't many people richer than me in the divine realm." Originally, Hong Qiao was still very worried when she heard Yang Hongwu's words. After all, Old Man Life and Death's strength was there for all to see. Moreover, Old Man Life and Death was about to reach the end of his lifespan. If he went crazy and wanted to perish together with Old Man Life and Death, it would be absolutely terrifying. It must be known that if a peak half-step Tao Lord wanted to perish together with someone, how terrifying would that be? Even the entire Myriad Immortal Gate would be destroyed. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and the Fortune God tree in his body condensed a Fortune Chi. Yang Hongwu condensed this Fortune Chi into a pill. Small Fortune Tao pill. This is... Old Man Life and Death's eyes widened when he saw the pill in Yang Hongwu's hand. At this moment, a terrifying aura condensed in the void. It was the tribulation cloud. The tribulation of a pill. Terrifying lightning was brewing. Although this small Fortune Tao pill wasn't a true Fortune Tao pill, it was of great help to Old Man Life and Death at this moment. Old Man Life and Death's vitality had already dissipated. This was because Old Man Life and Death knew when he smelled the aura of this small Fortune Tao pill. He had once obtained information about the small Fortune Tao pill and the small Fortune Tao pill in an ancient ruin. The things that could extend his lifespan were the small Fortune Tao pill and the small Fortune Tao pill. Yes, if it was a true Fortune Tao pill, it could allow him to be reborn and completely rejuvenated. Although his cultivation would drop after taking the small Fortune Tao pill, it was equivalent to changing his fate and cultivating from the beginning. This was definitely worth it. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book, $article_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2040. Is this really a minor creation Tao pill? The scene in front of them was too shocking. The creation Tao pill was not an ordinary thing. If word got out, it would cause countless people to fight crazily for it. It was something that even Tao lords would risk their lives to snatch. A minor creation Tao pill was comparable to a supreme treasure. From this, one could see how precious this creation Tao pill was. It was very precious. To them, although supreme treasures were precious, they were foreign objects after all. It was impossible for them to improve their cultivation. However, this creation Tao pill was different. With the creation Tao pill, they could improve their cultivation, especially those cultivators who were nearing the end of their lifespan. A creation Tao pill was equivalent to giving them a new life. This was equivalent to giving them a new life. Although supreme treasures were good, they couldn't save their lives. With such a comparison, which one was more important and which one was more precious, it would naturally be obvious. Of course, this is the creation Tao pill. However, this is only a minor creation Tao pill. There is still a difference between it and a real creation Tao pill. Yan Hanwu said. The creation Tao pill. It was not something he could refine now. Even if he had the creation divine tree, it was impossible to do so unless the creation divine tree was upgraded to a very powerful level. Only at the Tao Lord level could he use the creation chi condensed by the creation divine tree to refine the creation Tao pill. Of course, if Yan Hongwu's cultivation reached the Tao Lord level, however, he could still refine creation Tao pills. However, these two conditions were not met. In order to refine this minor creation Tao pill, Yang Hanwu had used the creation divine tree to accumulate the creation chi for a long time. The remaining portion of creation chi could only be used to refine another small creation Tao pill. After all, the creation chi was too precious. If it weren't for the fact that this life and death old man might have the life and death talisman, Yang Hanwu wouldn't be willing to use the creation chi to condense a minor creation Tao pill to attract this life. Damn the old man. If it were someone else, Yan Hanwu would have wanted to kill that person and snatch the life and death treasure from him. However, if he did that, he might not necessarily be able to obtain that treasure. If that treasure was really the life and death talisman, then it would be even more impossible. Life and death, the divine talisman, was too mysterious. It had a strong self-consciousness and wouldn't easily recognize a master. If one couldn't get the approval of the life and death divine talisman, it would be impossible to get the divine talisman. It was impossible. Of course, it would be different if the life and death old man handed it over himself. That way, the possibility of him obtaining that supreme treasure would be much higher. Moreover, if he snatched it by force, if the old man of life and death really had the life and death divine talisman, he would have a strong resistance. He would definitely be able to suppress it completely. Yang Hanwu didn't want both sides to suffer. You still have creation Tao pills? The old man of life and death suppressed the shock in his heart as he looked at Yang Hanwu. Listening to his tone, it seemed that not only did he have this little good fortune Tao pill, but he might even have more. A real good fortune Tao pill. This was too shocking. No. Yang Hanwu shook his head. What do you think a good fortune Tao pill is? A cabbage? I just refined this little good fortune Tao pill. Didn't you notice that the heavenly tribulation is about to arrive? It's coming? Just refined? Yes, heavenly tribulation. This is pill tribulation. Alchemy. You can actually refine a Tao transformation pill. This is really unbelievable. No, pill tribulation. This pill tribulation is too terrifying. Yes, I must protect this little good fortune Tao pill. Get out of the way. I will resist this pill tribulation. At this moment, the life and death old man came back to his senses and felt the tribulation clouds in the sky. The terrifying pressure made him worried. What he wanted to do now was how to protect this little good fortune Tao pill. If this little good fortune Tao pill was destroyed by the pill tribulation, if the tribulation was destroyed, then everything would be in vain. After all, if he could obtain this minor creation Tao pill, he would be able to obtain 1,000 years of lifespan. This way, he would have a chance to break through. This was his only chance to survive. No matter what, he had to protect this pill. You want this pill? Sure. I said before that you have to exchange it with that life and death supreme treasure. As for the pill tribulation, it's my business. Yang Hanwu shook his head. What kind of joke was this? This pill tribulation was helpful to him. Although the pill tribulation was powerful, it was useless to others. Others might be unable to resist such a terrifying pill tribulation. Even if they could resist it, they would be seriously injured. However, Yang Hanwu was different. One had to know that he had a special physique. His devouring true immortal physique was immortal. The immortal dragon body and the immortal dragon body were so powerful. Now, his physical body had reached an incredible level, almost comparable to a supreme treasure. His current physical body was extremely strong. If he wanted to improve his physical body, he would need a powerful force to temper it. Under normal circumstances, it was very difficult to have a chance. Now, the pill tribulation of this little good fortune Tao pill was an excellent opportunity. It was an excellent opportunity to improve and temper his physical body. Moreover, the power of this pill tribulation might be able to raise his cultivation by another level. To Yang Hanwu, if it wasn't for the lack of time, Yang Hanwu would have tried to refine a stronger and higher grade pill to attract the heavenly tribulation and cultivate. Of course, this also required conditions. Ordinary places simply didn't have such good conditions. There wasn't such rich spiritual qi and powerful laws. Therefore, to refine a pill like this, an ordinary place wouldn't be able to refine such a pill. Normal planes wouldn't be able to support pills of such a level. For example, his own common people's great world wasn't enough for him to refine pills like the small creation Tao pill. The previous deity domain couldn't do it. Only now, the complete deity domain could support it. In addition, the spiritual qi in the myriad immortal sect's myriad immortal palace was rich. Only then could there be enough spiritual qi to support him refining the little good fortune Tao pill. At this moment, outside the myriad immortal palace, almost half of the spiritual qi in the entire myriad immortal sect had been absorbed by this little good fortune Tao pill. It was enough to show how terrifying this little good fortune Tao pill was. You! When Old Man Life and Death heard Yang Hanwu's words, he was angry and anxious. There was nothing he could do about it. After all, Yang Hanwu was actually the owner of this pill. He thought that Yang Hanwu could help the little good fortune Tao pill transcend the tribulation. After all, this pill was too important to him. He didn't want any accidents to happen to this pill. I can give you that life and death treasure, but this pill is too important to me. Moreover, if the pill fails to transcend the tribulation, you have nothing to exchange with me. Is that so? Now, we should transcend the pill tribulation together. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people. $article_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2041. Pill tribulation, it's just a mere pill tribulation. Yang Hanwu had an indifferent expression. Looking at this scene, Old Man Life and Death almost thought that this guy was crazy. However, he knew very well that Yang Hanwu was not crazy. This meant that Yang Hanwu had such tyrannical strength. Yang Hanwu was not crazy. You? What are you doing? Are you crazy? Old Man Life and Death found that Yang Hanwu was directly resisting the pill tribulation. Moreover, what was worse was that he did not use any treasures to resist this terrifying lightning tribulation. Even for a Tao Lord expert, such an action was self-harming. After all, this pill tribulation was no ordinary pill tribulation. Although a Tao Lord expert was powerful, the pill tribulation was not an ordinary one. Although Tao Lords were overbearing, they were far from being able to directly compete with the power of the lightning tribulation. Even those warriors who cultivated the Tao of lightning did not dare to fight head-on like this. After all, there was a limit to the power of lightning that the body could withstand. If it reached the limit, their body would still not be able to withstand it and it would cause great damage, or even irreversible damage. Irreversible damage. One had to know that the lightning tribulation was a test of the great Tao, or a punishment. If a person who cultivated the Tao of Lightning cultivated the Tao of Lightning too many times with his body, he would not be able to withstand it. The power of lightning would become more and more terrifying, and he would be remembered by the Great Tao. This was the most terrifying part. The Great Tao was everywhere. No one knew how terrifying the Great Tao was. Unless one's strength could surpass the Great Tao, no one could use the power of the Great Tao to cultivate without restraint. It seemed that the Great Tao of this divine domain was a very terrifying existence. Even Old Man Life and Death, who had lived for such a long time, did not know about this. Seeing Yang Hanwu doing such a crazy thing and using the power of the pill tribulation of the Great Tao to cultivate, Old Man Life and Death did not think that Yang Hanwu's strength could surpass the Great Tao. If his strength could surpass the Great Tao, why would he need to use the teleportation array in the myriad immortal sect to teleport to other divine domains? Old Man Life and Death was not a fool. Naturally, he was very clear about many things. However, at this time, he knew that he could not disturb Yang Hanwu. If something went wrong, his small creation Tao pill would be destroyed. Looking at the thunderbolts descending one after another, they all created a terrifying pressure. The entire myriad immortals mountain seemed like it was about to be destroyed. How terrifying was this power? However, when the bolts of lightning landed on Yang Hanwu's body, they were directly refined and absorbed by Yang Hanwu, turning into the purest form of power. It was as if the terrifying power of laws contained in the thunderbolt did not affect him at all. This was too terrifying, too terrifying. Could it be that this kid was the illegitimate son of Great Tao? However, no matter what, this meant that there was no problem with his minor creation Tao core. As long as he obtained the minor creation Tao pill, he would be able to survive and even have the hope of breaking through to the Tao Lord realm. No matter what, this was extremely important to him. Yes. At this moment, Hong Xiaoqiao was extremely worried. Although she knew that Yang Hanwu was not afraid of thunderbolts, the power of this pill tribulation was too terrifying and overbearing. It was not an ordinary person at all. Because he could withstand it. Hong Xiaoqiao asked herself. If she used her physical body to withstand the terrifying power of this pill tribulation, she would not be able to withstand even a single thunderbolt. And Yang Hanwu did use his physical body to withstand several thunderbolts. Who knew what kind of pain Yang Hanwu was enduring at this moment? Thinking of this, Hong Xiaoqiao's heart tightened. Yang Hanwu frantically devoured and refined the thunderbolts of the pill tribulation. Every thunderbolt that came down, Yang Hanwu used his physical body to withstand it. These thunderbolts greatly improved Yang Hanwu's strength. Although he did not break through, his physical body was further improved compared to before. This was the benefit of a powerful world plane. It was also the benefit of the abundant spiritual qi on the myriad immortal mountain. If it was any other place, it would be impossible to have such powerful thunderbolts. In fact, this powerful pill tribulation gathered the spiritual qi in the surroundings to make it so powerful. Of course, the thunderbolts of the pill tribulation were so powerful that they had already broken through Yang Hanwu's limit. When the last thunderbolt descended, Yang Hanwu's physical body was torn apart. His life was torn apart, and blood spurted out from his body. Seeing this, Hong Xiaoqiao was extremely worried and distressed. However, although the injury was serious, it was recovering bit by bit. Yang Hanwu's mouth curled into a smile. In fact, Yang Hanwu knew that this pill tribulation did not seem to have truly unleashed its terrifying power. This was because the power of this pill tribulation had not reached its maximum. It was only the pure power of thunderbolts. It did not evolve into something terrifying, such as the Spear of Destruction. The Spear of Destruction. If such a powerful force evolved into the Spear of Destruction and the Spear of Lightning, how terrifying would it be? No matter how strong his physical body was, he would not be able to withstand it. If something like the Spear of Lightning really appeared, he would need to rely on the Life Seal and the Devouring Furnace. The power of the furnace. Using the Life Seal to suppress it and the Devouring Furnace to refine it, he could only withstand it. He might even be seriously injured. Yang Hanwu had expected all of this before. However, this pill tribulation did not appear as he had expected. It seemed that the heavenly way of the deity realm, no, it should be the great Tao, was taking care of him. It seemed to be taking care of him, which surprised Yang Hanwu. Could it be that this was because of the existence of the power in his body? What did the great Tao of this world, the great Tao of the deity realm, have to do with his previous life? Or was the great Tao of the deity realm afraid of the terrifying power in his body? Yang Hanwu knew that the power in his body was very strong. It seemed that if it exploded, the deity realm might not be able to withstand it even though it was powerful. This pill tribulation, although it seemed fierce, was not to punish him or cause him great harm. In fact, it was to give him benefits, to improve his physical body. Moreover, the power of lightning was actually helping him in his cultivation, eliminating some of the subtle hidden dangers in his physical body. This was simply unbelievable to Yang Hanwu. No matter what, he had gained great benefits. "Husband, are you okay?" After the pill tribulation clouds and the void dissipated, Hong Xiao could not wait any longer. She immediately threw herself into Yang Hanwu's arms and asked with concern. She asked. Yang Hanwu smiled gently and hugged Hong Xiao tightly. He said, "Don't you know me well? I will never do anything that I am not sure of. Unless you are in danger, I will not take the risk. I won't take the risk." She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. $article_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2042. After the pill tribulation passed, the small creation Tao pill seemed to have developed its own consciousness and wanted to escape into the void. "You want to leave? Dream on." The corners of Yang Hongwu's mouth curled up into a smile as he looked at the small creation Tao pill that was trying to escape. This small creation Tao pill was very powerful. It tore through the void and wanted to escape. It seemed that pills at this level were also very powerful. This was only a small creation Tao pill. If it was a real creation Tao pill, how terrifying would it be? Originally, Yang Hanwu really planned to refine a real creation Tao pill if there was a suitable opportunity. But now, it seemed that refining a creation Tao pill was not that easy. Even if he succeeded in refining and passed the pill tribulation, the creation Tao pill would still escape by itself. Therefore, when refining pills, he still had to be prepared. Otherwise, he would have to work hard. If the painstakingly refined Tao pill directly escaped into the void, then all his efforts would be in vain. However, it was absolutely impossible for the minor creation Tao pill in front of him to escape. Yang Hanwu had already arranged a special array to seal this space when Old Man Life and Death appeared. Even when the pill tribulation appeared, there was no exception. Therefore, Yang Hanwu would not give this small creation Tao pill a chance to escape. Of course, if it was a real creation Tao pill, there would really be a chance to escape. This was something that Yang Hanwu did not expect. The small creation Tao pill actually had the ability to escape into the void. However, this small creation Tao pill's ability to escape into the void was far from reaching that kind of ability. It had reached the peak of perfection. Yang Hanwu waved his hand and launched a technique. This technique burst out with a bright light and instantly formed a small prison, trapping the small creation Tao pill within. It made it impossible for it to escape. Then, Yang Hanwu grabbed the small creation Tao pill with his hand. Small creation Tao pill? Life and Death Old Man originally wanted to seize it, but in the end, he gave up. It wasn't worth it. If he directly destroyed the minor creation Tao pill, everything would be over. It was a waste of energy. Moreover, the Old Man of Life and Death was not a fool. He could see how powerful Yang Hanwu was. After all, he was able to resist the terrifying pill tribulation with his physical body. But how could it be simple? Furthermore, even he himself would not believe that he did not possess any trump cards. Furthermore, his lifespan was nearing its end. Thus, it was not worth the risk. Before this, he really did not care about life and death. However, after seeing this small creation Tao pill, he had a strong will to live. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. He wanted to break through and reach a higher level. He wanted to become a true Tao Lord, not a half-step Tao Lord. Moreover, so what if he snatched the minor creation Tao pill from Yang Hongwu's hands? After all, the minor creation Tao pill was just a minor creation Tao pill. In truth, to old man life and death, the only thing that could truly allow him to be reborn and break through to the Tao Lord realm was creation. The Tao transformation Tao pill, not a mere minor creation Tao pill. Since this man in front of him could refine a small creation Tao pill, and he could do it so easily, could it be that he couldn't refine a real creation Tao pill? Offending a terrifying alchemist who could refine a true good fortune Tao pill for a mere small good fortune Tao pill was definitely not worth it. However, at this time, for old man life and death, what he could obtain was the minor creation Tao pill. Moreover, he still had to pay a price. The treasure that was extremely important to him was the talisman. It was a supreme treasure that had made him famous as old man life and death. He would use this talisman to exchange for it. In fact, he was very reluctant to part with it. If he had no chance of survival, this supreme treasure would be left for his successor. But now, he had a chance to live. If he lost this supreme treasure, old man life and death was very reluctant. Old man life and death, if you want this minor creation Tao pill, take out the supreme treasure of the Tao of life and death. Yang Hanwu looked at him and said. The minor creation Tao pill in his hand had been sealed by Yang Hanwu and was spinning in his hand. This minor creation Tao pill was like a dazzling star. There were mysterious and dazzling runes on it. It was full of the aura of creation and life. Such a pill was extremely tempting to any cultivator. In fact, it could even be said that it was extremely tempting to any living being. Old man life and death took a deep breath and said, "Is there no room for negotiation?" Since old man life and death knew that he still had a chance to live, he was naturally unwilling to give up the supreme treasure of life and death. I can use the other 3 supreme treasures of the same level to exchange for it. Yang Hanwu smiled slightly and looked at him. If you can take out 2 supreme treasures of the same level now, it's also possible, although I'm more inclined to the one that contains the Tao of life and death. The supreme treasure of life and death. If such a supreme treasure was really the life and death divine talisman, it would be a joke to take out 3 supreme treasures of the same level. The divine talisman of life and death was a supreme treasure in the creation realm. There were only a handful of such treasures in the entire universe. Therefore, not to mention taking out 3 supreme treasures of the same level, even 2 of them would be a joke. It was simply impossible. However, you have to understand why I value the supreme treasure that contains the Tao of life and death. If I'm not wrong, you shouldn't have that supreme treasure yet. In truth, the reason why you were able to reach your current level of cultivation and live far longer than a half-step Daolord's lifespan was all because of that supreme treasure. Similarly, although that supreme treasure gave you a powerful cultivation and a long lifespan, you still lost something special. It can be said that you haven't even touched that supreme treasure yet. In fact, I haven't even come into contact with this supreme treasure. This supreme treasure is destined not to belong to you. Yang Hanwu guessed that this supreme treasure was most likely the life and death talisman. It was huge. After Yang Hanwu said this, old man life and death was silent for a long time. Yes, what Yang Hanwu said was actually correct. Old man life and death didn't dare to deny this because all of it was true. It was true. You're right. I really don't have that supreme treasure. After taking a deep breath, old man life and death slowly stretched out his right hand. In the palm of his right hand, a ray of light appeared. This was a black and white light. It was the manifestation of the power of life and death. The power of life and death constantly intertwined to form a talisman. This talisman carried a supreme power. This was a majesty that came from the depths of one's soul. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book, $article_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life and finding confidence. Chapter 2043. This is the supreme treasure that contains the knowledge of life and death that you wanted to obtain, the life and death old man said. At that moment, the life and death old man released his grip on the supreme treasure. The instant he released his grip, the supreme treasure attempted to escape. It left me. The instant the life and death old man released his grip on the supreme treasure, he sensed that his connection with the supreme treasure had been severed. It was the supreme treasure that had severed the connection by itself. This came as a great shock to the life and death old man. Although he had known very well that he had not been able to grasp the supreme treasure had actually managed to sever the supreme treasure's imprint. How could he not be shocked by the fact that it had automatically erased his mark on the life and death treasure? As expected of the life and death talisman. However, Yang Hanwu chuckled instead. Instantly, the life seal was unleashed and a gigantic cage was formed, suppressing the life-death talisman instantly. Originally, Yang Hanwu had wanted to see if he would be able to obtain the acknowledgement of the life and death talisman. However, to Yang Hanwu's surprise, the supreme treasure actually tried to escape. Yang Hanwu had no choice but to suppress it. The reason why he had wasted so much time there was all for the sake of obtaining the supreme treasure, the life and death talisman. If he were to allow the supreme treasure to escape into the void, wouldn't all the time and effort he had wasted be in vain? Life and death talisman, as expected of the life and death talisman. At that moment, as he looked at the supreme treasure that he had suppressed, he was certain that it was truly the legendary life and death talisman. He had finally seen the true body of one of the 8 great divine talismans, the life and death talisman. Or perhaps it could be said that it was only an incomplete life and death talisman. If it were a complete life and death talisman, it would simply be impossible for him to suppress it. Fortunately, it was only an incomplete life and death talisman that gave him the opportunity to do so. You still want to struggle and escape from my suppression? That's impossible. Yan Hanwu said. The life and death talisman is truly one of the 8 great divine talismans. Unfortunately, it's incomplete. It's an incomplete life and death talisman. If it was a complete one, I wouldn't have been able to suppress you. This life and death divine talisman had long given birth to its own intelligence, so it naturally understood what Yang Hanwu was talking about. Moreover, for so many years, the life and death divine talisman had been with the old man of life and death. Naturally, he had obtained a lot of resources and obtained a lot of information. The life and death divine talisman attached itself to the old man of life and death, giving him great help. At the same time, the life and death divine talisman recovered to a certain extent. However, compared to the peak of the life and death divine talisman, this was simply incomparable. The current life and death divine talisman was only a very small portion. However, to Yang Hanwu, this was already enough. Indeed, it was enough. This was much, much better than the fake divine talismans he had encountered before. You have the aura of creation and the aura of the life seal. At this moment, Yang Hanwu sensed a message from the life and death talisman. They're here. That's right. Yang Hanwu nodded. You should know my potential. I can find the remaining part for you and make you complete. Yang Hanwu was not surprised that the life and death divine talisman could communicate with him. Although the old man of life and death could use the life and death divine talisman before, he had not truly mastered it. Perhaps the life and death divine talisman looked down on the old man of life and death, so it was unwilling to communicate with him. Of course, this was only Yang Hanwu's guess. To Yang Hanwu, the life and death divine talisman was indeed powerful. However, his life seal was not bad either. There was also the scroll of good fortune in his hands, the longevity ancient tree, and so on. Each of them was an incomparably powerful existence. Once they grew up, they would be comparable to the life and death divine talisman. Can you make me your only creation supreme treasure? The life and death divine talisman asked. That's impossible. Yang Hanwu shook his head. This was unrealistic. If he let the life and death divine talisman become his only supreme treasure, wouldn't it mean that he had to give up on the life seal and the creation supreme treasure? He had to give up on the Grand Mist Saber and so on. All of these were not what Yang Hanwu wanted. To Yang Hanwu, the life seal, the creation divine tree, the scroll of good fortune, and so on were all indispensable. If he had to give up on one at a critical moment, then Yang Hanwu would have to give it up. His first choice would be the life and death divine talisman, not the life seal or the creation divine tree. Then you will let me become your life supreme treasure? The life and death divine talisman asked again. That's also impossible. Yang Hanwu shook his head. To Yang Hanwu, he had already refined the life seal into his life supreme treasure. How could he let the life and death divine talisman become his life supreme treasure? If he had not obtained the life seal and refined it into his life supreme treasure, he might have chosen the life and death divine talisman. It would be his life supreme treasure. That's also impossible. Then you want me to submit to you? That's impossible. I am the life and death divine talisman, one of the 8 supreme divine talismans. Where are you? The life and death divine talisman's voice became sharp. Since you can't do it, then let me go. You don't want to submit? Yang Hanwu said coldly. If you don't want to submit, then die. Yang Hanwu paused for a moment and said, I can refine you directly and merge you into my life seal. What a joke. The life and death divine talisman couldn't help but mock. You don't have that ability. Even a peak Tao Lord can't do it. You're just an emperor. You can't do it. Even if I can't completely refine the life and death divine talisman, I think I can erase your consciousness. With that, a powerful force erupted from the life and death divine talisman. It came out to erase the consciousness of the life and death divine talisman. To Yang Hanwu, the life and death divine talisman was indeed very powerful. If he could really refine it, it would be of great help to him. However, he didn't need one to have its own consciousness and the other to be unable to control it. The consciousness of the life and death divine talisman was just like that. No. At this moment, the life and death divine talisman discovered that Yang Hanwu wanted to erase his consciousness. This meant that he wanted to kill him. This made him extremely terrified. It was impossible to destroy his body and the life and death divine talisman. Not to mention Yang Hanwu, a mere emperor, even existences beyond the Tao Lord realm could not do it. The life and death divine talisman couldn't be destroyed. It could only be sealed. If it wasn't for this, he would have been destroyed back then. However, Yang Hanwu couldn't destroy the life and death divine talisman, but he could erase his consciousness. Once his consciousness was erased, it meant death. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book. $article_title. He followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for a confidant. Chapter 2044. No, you can't do this. If you erase my consciousness, the strength of the life and death talisman will be greatly reduced. Even if you obtain the life and death talisman, you won't be able to unleash the power of the life and death talisman. Moreover, I know that the life and death divine talisman has many powerful secret arts that can only be used when I'm alive. The life and death divine talisman's artifact spirit saw Yang Hanwu's true form. When the life and death talisman saw that the life and death talisman could erase his consciousness, he was already terrified to the extreme. He never thought that Yang Hanwu could really do this. If he had known earlier, he naturally wouldn't be so arrogant and not give Yang Hanwu any face. So what? Even if I kill you, I can still get the memories in your consciousness. Your existence is like a time bomb to me. Yes, a time bomb. You don't know what a time bomb is, right? To put it simply, your existence brings me a lot of trouble. So, what do you think? Your existence can make the life and death of the life and death talisman work. The divine talisman can display its greatest power, but it can also cause me a lot of trouble. And I hate trouble the most, Yang Hanwu said coldly. Therefore, you've saved it. It doesn't mean much to me. Especially to me, the benefits of your existence are less than the threat of your existence. No, I won't threaten you. I recognize you as my master. You can control my life and death. I don't need to become your life and death talisman. The life and death talisman hurriedly said, Stop. Your Majesty, stop quickly. It's too late. Yang Hongwu's lips curled into a smile. If you had been like this from the beginning, I might have agreed to it. Now, it's too late. You should transform into my soul power. Bastard, I'll fight you to the death. The life and death talisman's life and death talisman was furious. He actually wanted to perish together with Yang Hongwu. However, how could Yang Hongwu let him do as he wished? He suppressed him, making it impossible for him to self-destruct. His final struggle was meaningless. In front of Yang Hongwu's powerful strength, the life and death talisman's life and death talisman's life and death talisman's life and death talisman's life and death old man was stunned. He was stunned. Who would have thought that Yang Hongwu would be able to take the life and death talisman so easily? Furthermore, he had even killed the weapon spirit of the life and death talisman. It was too terrifying. He was very clear about the power of the life and death divine talisman. If the life and death divine talisman was so easy to suppress, he wouldn't have only comprehended a little bit of the life and death divine talisman. With that, he would no longer be unable to truly control the life and death talisman. All of this proved that it wasn't that the life and death talisman was weak, but rather that Yang Hongwu was too powerful, too terrifying. After receiving the life and death divine talisman, Yang Hongwu did not turn hostile. He turned his head and threw the small creation Dao pill to the life and death old man. Here's the pill. I'm leaving. Yang Hongwu looked at him and said, I don't think you will stop me from using the transfer tower of Myriad Immortal Sect, right? The life and death old man heaved a sigh of relief when Yang Hongwu handed him the elixir. He was really worried that Yang Hongwu would turn hostile and refuse to give him the elixir. Because if that was the case, he would really have to go all out. In fact, he was already prepared to fight to the death with Yang Hongwu and perish together. However, after obtaining the small creation Dao pill, the life and death old man gave up on such an idea. Where are you going? Perhaps I can help you. The life and death old man hesitated for a moment and said to Yang Hongwu. For the life and death old man, this small creation Dao pill was of great help to him. However, he was not in a hurry to consume this small creation Dao pill directly. He wanted to gain Yang Hongwu's friendship. Because what he wanted was the real creation Dao pill, the creation Dao pill that would allow him to truly break through to the Dao Lord realm. This small creation Dao pill could extend his lifespan. However, it could not allow him to truly be reborn and could not allow him to directly break through to the Dao Lord realm. And the only thing that could do this was the creation Dao pill. So far, no one could be said to be able to refine the Dao transformation Dao pill. The only one was Yang Hongwu. You want the creation Dao pill, don't you? Yang Hongwu asked. Yes. The life and death old man did not hide it. You should be able to refine the Dao transformation Dao pill. You should also know my situation. Although this small creation Dao pill can extend my lifespan, it can release my vitality, but in fact, it is not enough for me to break through and reach the Dao Lord realm. However, the creation Dao pill is possible. If I want to reach the Dao Lord realm. At the Dao Lord level, the only possibility is to acquire a Dao pill of creation. Yang Hongwu's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. I think you should know how precious the creation Dao pill is. What else do you have to exchange for it? Ordinary things can't be compared to the creation Dao pill. Moreover, I can tell you one thing. With my current strength, I can't refine the creation Dao pill unless my cultivation realm can reach the half-step Dao Lord realm. At the very least, I have to reach the late-stage sovereign realm. I believe you. The life and death old man looked at Yang Hongwu and said, Your talent is amazing. You are the son of destiny. It won't be a problem for you to reach the half-step Dao Lord realm, or even the Dao Lord realm. It's only a matter of time. As for what I'll use to exchange for the creation Dao pill, I've naturally thought about it. I, the old man of life and death, am not a Dao Lord. Although I am not a Dao Lord realm expert, I can still do many things in the divine realm. In the entire divine realm, even the Tao Lord realm experts can do many things for you. I've done many things, and I've even learned many secrets of the primordial era that no one else knows of. Not even Tao Lords know of these secrets. Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up when he heard this. If this was the case, the life and death old man could really help him do many things. You want to be my follower? Yang Hongwu looked at him and said, it is not that easy to become my follower. No, not a follower, but a Tao protector. The life and death old man took a deep breath and said, I want to be your Tao protector. Hearing this, Yang Hongwu was happy. Tao protector, you are so ambitious. You want to be my Tao protector? Do you know what it means to be my Tao protector? You have not even reached the Tao Lord realm. A cultivator who has reached the divine realm wants to be my Tao protector. Yang Hongwu naturally knew what it meant to be a Tao protector. In the divine realm, Tao protectors had existed since ancient times. Ancient existences would choose some young geniuses with amazing talent and great luck to secretly protect them. Before these geniuses grew into true experts, Tao protectors would protect them. In other words, when they encountered a life and death crisis, Tao protectors would protect them and help them reach the Tao. This was the so-called Tao protector. I want to talk with more like-minded people about the book, $article_title, he followed excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talking about life, looking for confidence. Chapter 2045. Trust me. The old man of life and death said, I'll do a good job. If I can become your Tao protector, it'll be good for both of us. For the old man of life and death, if he could become Yang Hongwu's Tao protector, he could borrow his luck. He had already felt Yang Hongwu's powerful luck. If he could become his Tao protector, it wouldn't be difficult for him to break through to the Tao Lord realm with the help of Yang Hongwu's soaring luck. He could even break through to a higher realm. It was possible. If it weren't for Yang Hongwu refining the small creation Tao pill, he really wouldn't know about all this. Impossible. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, a Tao protector is not just a name. If you become my Tao protector, you have to bear the corresponding responsibilities. Your strength is far from enough. Do you know who my current enemy is? Yang Hongwu could guess what this old man of life and death wanted to do by becoming his Tao protector. This guy just wanted to borrow his luck. Of course, there was also the matter of him refining the Tao transformation pill. He wanted him to help him refine the Tao transformation pill. At this time, the only thing that interested him about the old man of life and death was the ancient secrets and ancient ruins that the old man of life and death knew about. In the God realm, the old man of life and death wasn't the only one who knew about these secrets and ruins. Yang Hongwu was confident about this. There were still many old antiques in the God realm. Antiques existed, and they knew many secrets. Ancient secret realms. These ancient secret realms were full of endless opportunities, but they were also full of dangers. Only now did Yang Hongwu know that the God realm wasn't that simple at all. It was much more terrifying and vast than he had imagined. Who is it? The old man of life and death said, I can even resist one or two Tao Lord experts. If you have my help, you can borrow the power of the entire myriad immortal sect. It's not as simple as what you see. If it weren't for some special reasons, and the little girl Hong Qiao Qiao, do you think you could have entered this place so easily? Although the myriad immortal sect is powerful, I don't put them in my eyes. Yang Hongwu shook his head slightly and said, as long as it's not a Tao Lord, I'm not afraid. The experts of the lower realm are unable to pose a fatal threat to me. Old man life and death was shocked when he heard this. Yang Hongwu meant that he didn't even put a Tao Lord in his eyes. He was so confident. He was an invincible existence under the Tao Lord realm. But in fact, if he encountered an expert of the Tao Lord realm, he would definitely not be able to resist. If a Tao Lord really wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to escape. The difference between a Tao Lord and cultivators below the Tao Lord realm was huge. Yang Hongwu was only an emperor, yet he dared to say such a thing. It was clear how confident Yang Hanwu was and how powerful his trump card was. The life and death old man did not doubt this because he had seen the terrifying fate on Yang Hanwu's body. A person with such terrifying fate would definitely not die so easily. Those who could kill him were either extremely powerful and could easily overpower him. The other type was someone whose luck was on par with his. Perhaps, there was another type of person that was capable of doing the same thing. This type of person was the legendary Fate Destroyer. This kind of person was a very special existence. He had only seen them in ancient legends. As for whether they really existed, he did not know. However, there was one thing he was sure of. This was because he had lived for so many years, yet he had never seen a true Fate Destroyer. Of course, he had also never seen someone with such boundless Fate Destroyer like Yang Hanwu. Yang Hanwu was the only one. Yang Hanwu was the only one. Since even a person with such terrifying Fate Destroyer like Yang Hanwu had appeared, it would not be strange for a Fate Destroyer to appear. Of course, what the life and death old man was curious about now was the level of strength of Yang Hanwu's so-called enemy. Lord of the Devil Realm. Yang Hanwu looked at the life and death old man and said, "I'm going to find trouble with the Lord of the Devil Realm now. Do you want to come?" The life and death old man was a little dumbfounded when he heard this. He looked at Yang Hanwu in disbelief. He did not expect that Yang Hanwu was actually going to find trouble with the Lord of the Devil Realm. Although the Lord of the Devil Realm had risen not long ago, his strength was very terrifying. In fact, the Lord of the Devil Realm had just made his debut not long ago. However, in a short period of time, his strength had reached an incredible level. His strength had reached an inconceivable level. The increase in strength of the Lord of the Demon region was something that almost no one could compare to. At that time, the strength of the Lord of the Devil Realm was only at the Emperor Realm. However, when he was at the Emperor Realm, he had already defeated the experts of the Sovereign Realm. When he reached the Sovereign Realm, he had already unified the entire Devil Realm. It should be known that the original Sovereign of the Devil Realm was also very terrifying. He was definitely at the Tao Lord Realm. However, the Lord of the Devil Realm was still at the Sovereign Realm. He had defeated the experts of the Tao Lord Realm. Now, only a short period of time had passed. The Lord of the Devil Realm, Zetian, had already reached the Tao Lord Realm. Moreover, he was still in closed-door cultivation in the Devil Realm and would come out soon. Every time the Lord of the Devil Realm went into closed-door cultivation, it did not take a long time. However, once he came out, his strength would increase tremendously. This time, the Lord of the Devil Realm's strength would probably increase to the late Tao Lord Realm or even more terrifying. The Lord of the Devil Realm is not scary. The old man of life and death took a deep breath and said, "If your enemy is the Lord of the Devil Realm, then you don't have to worry. After all, he is our God." This time, the reason why the sect master of the myriad immortal sect, Gu Wanxian, left the eternal God Realm is to gather the other lords of the God Realm to discuss countermeasures against the Lord of the Devil Realm. You alone can't deal with the Lord of the Devil Realm. After all, the Lord of the Devil Realm is too powerful. However, if the entire God Realm joins forces, it might not be impossible to deal with the Lord of the Devil Realm. Yang Hanwu sneered when he heard this. He looked at him and said, "It's not that I look down on you. In fact, you are a bunch of mobs. If you want to deal with Zetian, your strength is far from enough. You don't know who Zetian is, but I know very well. He is my old opponent. Back then, I came from the lower realm with him. He was once defeated by me. Now, his strength has increased to such a level. He is the reincarnation of a supreme expert. Now, he should be recovering the strength of his previous life. Moreover, he is far from reaching the end. If he wanted to talk about the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, he would like to follow him on WeChat. Talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 2046. Yang Hongwu's words made the old man of life and death a little angry. He didn't even put the powerhouses of the entire realm of the gods in his eyes. It had to be known that if the powerhouses of the entire realm of the gods were added together, in the entire god realm, there were as many as 8 Tao lords. With 8 Tao lords in the power of the god realm, how could they not deal with a mere lord of the devil realm? He thought too highly of the lord of the devil realm, Zetian. You think too highly of the lord of the devil realm. Although he is strong and can be said to be invincible in a one-on-one fight, there are many experts in the god realm. If we work together, he definitely won't be able to deal with them alone. The old man of life and death said. You think too simply of things. Yan Hanwu sneered. He looked at the old man of life and death and said, Are the experts of the god realm a piece of iron? If I'm not wrong, several experts of the god realm have been scheming against each other all this time, right? The moment these words came out, the old man of life and death was speechless. On this point, Yang Hanwu wasn't wrong at all. Indeed, within the various divine realms, there was constant friction. Some divine realms even had great enmity with each other. The possibility of hatred between them was too small. Moreover, Zetian has countless methods. He can easily divide you. Yang Hanwu continued. Can you deal with the Lord of the Devil realm alone? The old man of life and death was stunned for a moment before he said, The Lord of the Devil realm is so strong. How can you deal with him alone? Really? If you work together with the experts of the God realm, your chances will be much higher, right? Yang Hanwu smiled and looked at the old man of life and death. He said, With your intelligence, do you think the lords of the God realms will listen to me? Don't talk about others. Even your eternal God realm, your Wanxian, if Gu Wanxian, the patriarch of the sect, knew about my situation, he would definitely attack me, right? The old man of life and death was speechless again. He knew Gu Wanxian's character very well. Yang Hanwu had not only abducted his disciple, Hong Qiao, but also killed the only bloodline heir of the Gu clan. This meant that the Gu clan had already severed their bloodline. Gu Wanxian and Yang Hanwu could be said to have a blood feud that could not be resolved. Once Gu Wanxian met Yang Hanwu, he would definitely make a move on him. You even know that. So, you shouldn't waste your breath on these things. As for you becoming my Tao protector, it's really not enough. Even Tao Lord experts want to become my Tao protector. Even if you want to become my Tao protector, you have to think twice, let alone you. As these words left his mouth, old man life and death had complex feelings. He was the dignified old man life and death, someone who had dominated the divine realm for countless years and had an illustrious reputation for himself. Yet now, he was being looked down upon by Yang Hanwu. He didn't even have the qualifications to become his protector, which made him feel very helpless. If those geniuses in the myriad immortal sect heard that he was going to be their Tao protector, they would probably be overjoyed. However, he took the initiative to become Yang Hanwu's Tao protector but was still rejected by him. This was really hard for old man life and death to accept. Even if I can't become your Tao protector, I can still provide you with a lot of help. With all due respect, even if you're extremely powerful and talented, you still can't defeat the Tao protector. It's better for us to join forces. That way, it'll be much easier to deal with the Lord of the Devil realm. Old man life and death said. However, he still didn't want to give up the idea of following Yang Hanwu. After all, only by following Yang Hanwu would he have a chance to obtain the creation Tao pill. If he didn't follow Yang Hanwu, where would he find Yang Hanwu? Although he had already obtained a small creation Tao pill, people were always greedy. How could a mere small creation Tao pill satisfy him? How do you want me to believe you? Yang Hanwu looked at him and said, I don't want to bring trouble to myself. You should know that your sect master, Gu Wanxian, hates me to the bone. If you follow me, how can I believe that you won't leak my information to Gu Wanxian? Although I'm not afraid of Gu Wanxian, I don't want to be entangled. After all, I don't have much time. Old man life and death couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He didn't take it to heart, but he was afraid of trouble. This made old man life and death very speechless. After all, his sect master was a Tao Lord. In his opinion, it was just a little troublesome. If Gu Wanxian heard this, who knew what he would think? Of course, although Old Man Life and Death was a member of the Myriad Immoral sect and had a strong sense of belonging to the sect, in reality, the Myriad Immoral sect was the Myriad Immoral sect and Gu Wanxian was Gu Wanxian. Gu Wanxian was the sect master of the Myriad Immoral sect, but this didn't mean that the Myriad Immoral sect wouldn't exist without Gu Wanxian. As the sect master, Gu Wanxian could represent the Myriad Immoral sect, but it didn't mean that Gu Wanxian was equal to the Myriad Immoral sect. No, of course not. If I follow you, I naturally won't leak your whereabouts to Gu Wanxian. Although Gu Wanxian is the sect master of the Myriad Immoral sect, he can't control me. Old Man Life and Death said, if you want to use the transfer tower of the Myriad Immoral sect to leave, you will have to pay a great price. However, if you have my help, you can go to other divine realms. It's much easier to go to the divine realms. I wonder which divine realm you want to go to. Since you insist on following me, it's up to you. Yang Hanwu looked at Old Man Life and Death and said, however, I'll say the ugly words first. If you have any ideas, then don't blame me for being impolite. Although my cultivation realm isn't as high as yours, it won't be difficult to deal with you. How could Yang Hanwu not have restrictions for an expert like Old Man Life and Death? Although the small creation Tao pill could give great benefits to Old Man Life and Death, it could also restrict him. This was where Yang Hongwu's confidence came from. Old Man Life and Death heard this and said, no, you can rest assured about this. In fact, when one reached the level of Old Man Life and Death, they were all like old foxes. How could he not know that Yang Hanwu might have left a trick on the small creation Tao pill? However, he was not worried. Moreover, even if he had a way to remove the restriction on the pill, he would not remove it. If he wanted to obtain the real creation Tao pill, he would not do so. If he wanted to get the real creation Tao pill, then he must accept Yang Hongwu's control. But so what? For a person who had reached the limit of his lifespan, being able to live and have the opportunity to reach a higher level was all worth it. What's more, following Yang Hanwu and being controlled by him wasn't necessarily a bad thing. After all, the power in Yang Hongwu's body made him feel afraid. His luck was so vast and boundless. Although Gu Wanxian was also a person with great fortune, compared to Yang Hongwu's fortune, it was like comparing a firefly to the moon. The difference was far too great. Too late. If you want to talk about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, you can follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find confidence. Chapter 2047. This was also the reason why the Old Man of Life and Death had chosen Yang Hanwu. Gu Wanxian was only slightly stronger in terms of cultivation. However, Yang Hanwu was different. His potential was limitless. Gu Wanxian seemed to have reached the end and could no longer improve. Unless there was a huge reversal, it was impossible for Gu Wanxian to have a huge breakthrough. He had a premonition that Yang Hanwu could let him stand at the peak. The Old Man of Life and Death was also ambitious. However, he knew his own limits. There were many talents in the divine domain and he was not the main character. However, Yang Hanwu was different. Yang Hanwu was probably the main character in the divine domain. Moreover, for Yang Hanwu, the divine domain was too small and could not accommodate him. It would not be long before Yang Hanwu took control of the divine domain. After that, Yang Hanwu would eventually leave. At that time, the Old Man of Life and Death could choose to stay and take control of the divine domain. The divine domain. This was an opportunity for the Old Man of Life and Death. Of course, this might be too far-fetched, but it was also very possible. At this time, Yang Hanwu did not know that the Old Man of Life and Death had so many thoughts. For Yang Hanwu, it was time to leave the Eternal God domain. In the Eternal God domain, Hong Qiao was the only person he cared about. Now that Hong Qiao was by his side, there was nothing else in the Eternal God domain that could attract him. He had obtained the Life and Death Talisman. Although it was incomplete and only a part of the real Life and Death Talisman, it might not even be half of the real Life and Death Talisman. Even if it was not, it was still a huge gain. As for the other things, they had to be put aside. Now, the place Yang Hanwu wanted to go was the common people's divine domain. Originally, Yang Hanwu thought that the common people's divine domain had been sucked into the common people's Great Seal. But now, it seemed that this was not the case. The common people's God realm and the God realm and his own common people's great world and the common people's great world and the common people's seal were not the same great world. The two were in two different positions. Surface world. The common people God domain might be called that because of the great seal of the common people, but the common people God domain was definitely not the inner world of the great seal of the common people. The common people's God domain wasn't simple either. Back then, the master of the common people's God domain might have been the master of the common people's Great Seal. After all, the common people's great world didn't have anyone who could reach the Tao Lord realm. Even though he had almost obtained the complete Great Seal of Life, he still didn't possess such terrifying power. The current Great Seal of Life couldn't possibly possess such power. This was Tao Lord Surpass's power. Of course, Yan Hanwu also knew that this might have something to do with his own strength. If he could reach the ruler realm, then he wouldn't even need to reach the Tao Lord realm. The power of the Grand Life Seal was comparable to that of a Tao Lord. Right now, the power of the Common Life Great Seal was closely related to his cultivation level. If his cultivation level was higher, then the power of the Common Life Great Seal would also be stronger. But at the very least, he was still far from reaching that level and realm. All along, Yang Hanwu had thought that his cultivation speed was very fast, but in reality, it was far from enough. It could be said that compared to Zetian, his speed was still too slow. Although Zetian relied on the power of his previous life, he hadn't truly accepted that he belonged to his previous life. Power. Perhaps, if he absorbed and refined the power of his previous life, his strength would be comparable to Zetian's, or even stronger than Zetian's. But Yang Hanwu wasn't willing to do that. He didn't want to do it. Because Yang Hanwu didn't want to lose himself. He didn't want to lose his current self and become the him of his previous life. After all, he was a terrifying expert in his previous life. His memories were as vast as smoke. If he accepted the power and memories of his previous life, then the terrifying impact would probably cause his current self to dissipate. Then, his current consciousness would be washed away and dissipated. This was something that Yang Hanwu absolutely did not want. It was precisely because of this that Yang Hanwu crazily increased his cultivation and suppressed the memories and power of his previous life. However, during this period of time, Yang Hanwu felt that the powerful power of his previous life was gradually beginning to awaken in his body. Even his memories were the same. After all, many memories appeared inexplicably. This was the biggest reason why Yang Hanwu was worried. "You can open the teleportation tower?" Yang Hanwu said, "Didn't you say that the teleportation tower requires the power of the Tao Lord realm to open? Are you sure you can open it now?" Yang Hanwu was naturally happy that Old Man Life and Death was willing to open the teleportation tower. However, he expressed doubts about Old Man Life and Death's strength. Although Old Man Life and Death's strength was extremely close to the Tao Lord realm, he was still not a Tao Lord realm expert. If he forcefully opened the teleportation tower, it would probably consume a lot of power. However, it was different for Yang Hanwu. Although his cultivation realm was far from the Tao Lord realm, his strength was very strong. In addition, he had an understanding of space. His comprehension of the Tao of Tao and his understanding of formations had reached a very profound level. This teleportation tower was nothing in front of Yang Hanwu. With his current strength, his comprehension of space, and the power of the planar boat, it was easy to open the teleportation tower. Activating a teleportation tower was not a difficult task. After all, they were only teleporting within the deity territory, not outside of the deity territory. Even if he wanted to teleport outside the divine realm, Yang Hanwu could do it. It would just consume a lot of power. "Yes, young master," Old Man Life and Death said, "although my cultivation realm hasn't reached the Tao Lord realm, I can still open the teleportation tower and teleport to another divine realm. Although it will consume a part of my power, if young master didn't give me the minor creation Tao pill, I wouldn't dare to do it. But now, there's no problem. Yang Hanwu looked at him and smiled slightly. In that case, you can give it a try. However, you have to think carefully. This teleportation tower consumes a lot of energy and has to be opened again in a short period of time. If you open it, I'm afraid that more than half of your current strength will be consumed. At that time, even if you have the minor creation Tao pill, you won't be able to recover. Although the minor creation Tao pill can restore your lifespan, your foundation will be permanently damaged and will never be able to recover. Are you still willing to help me open the teleportation tower? Old Man Life and Death's face sank slightly when he heard this. He took a deep breath as if he had made a big decision. He said, I'll do it. He wanted to talk about the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people. Talking about life, looking for confidence. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.